Hello and welcome back to the Relative Roads podcast. This is a conversation continued with Keith Curry. Couple of things to note. I learned quite a bit about myself after listening to this conversation multiple times. I'll share that information with you at some point later down the road. But for right now, I think you should know some of the things I stated in this conversation. I don't necessarily believe those things to be true anymore. But I digress. I'd like you to open your hearts and your minds to the reality of my friend, Keith Curry. Enjoy. All right. What's your zodiac sign?
I believe Cancer.
When's your birthday?
June 24th. So I'm right on the break of Gemini and Cancer.
Oh, you're on the cusp.
I'm like the day where it changes.
Interesting.
In the month.
I wonder how that... When I talked to James... He doesn't buy into it at all, which is funny because his son, and his wife are all Aries. They're all the same sign. I don't know what that's going to breed in terms of their experience as a family, but there's probably going to be some really interesting aspects to that.
Right.
Growth.
How can I put it? It's too accurate to not have some
validity.
Yeah.
It's too accurate. So you buy into some of it.
To me, it's not about buying into it. You know what I mean? It's like, I just think there's some smart people. I think us as people, we just have certain feelings about things. And I think there's people that are good at absorbing that in people and putting that into words and making a way for us to identify with it. That's how I feel about zodiac signs. I'm
going to put it in a way that I haven't yet.
Okay.
But it's sort of the language of the stars. Because there are vibrations and energies within people born in certain times of the year.
Right.
From my own thought process, I think that are too true to ignore.
Right.
So therefore, we're cosmically tied to one another in one way or another.
We're stars.
Yeah. We are.
Your insides is stars.
Yeah, the inside of you is its own galaxy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so when the planets align in July or June, there are some fundamental aspects to your personality that are just like other people born in that same time period.
Right.
So what do you agree with or disagree with in terms of the description of your zodiac?
Excuse me, that wine. My zodiac is pretty accurate, man.
The Cancer zodiac?
Yeah, I mean,
so you're very sensitive.
I'm very sensitive. I'm very insecure.
Do you run away and hide in your little crab shell when you're not feeling it? Are you moody?
I don't run. I don't per se, you know. But I do get moody. I do let people know that I'm uncomfortable. It's pretty accurate, but I also take on this characteristic of I feel whole when I suffer for someone.
Oh, a little empathetic sort of spiritual power kind of thing.
And the Bible never told me that about myself.
Yeah,
but the zodiac sign did, and it's pretty spot on accurate.
Yeah,
So like I said, there's just things. I don't think that you make it, I don't think you make it your God or your religion or anything like that, or a way to live fully.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it is some helpful insight
of
stuff that people have been jotting down about a person born around this time of the year for centuries now.
Right.
That lines up pretty good.
Yeah. I agree.
And just like weather, it's a pattern in everything.
Exactly. And
you should pay attention to that.
I like that. I like the thought that you can sort of navigate your life a little bit with a bit of a blueprint.
Right.
You can understand, because even through therapy and through education, you still suffer the human side of you, I
almost disagree with therapy. I almost think a zodiac sign is more helpful to you than a therapy session.
Really?
Yeah. I don't believe
I
don't believe in palm readings. Or stuff like that. Psychics, like you're going too far. You're putting too much into a man's hand or woman's hand, and
they feed
advertently you're going to adjust whatever you're doing in life to make what they say come true.
Yeah. Agreed.
You know, so it's not like,
I'm not a big believer in that either.
No, not at all. But a therapy session, I mean, what do therapists do other than say, you know what, Michael, it's okay that you're feeling that way.
Sometimes you need
and how does that make you feel?
Well, here's an experience personally that I've had with therapy. It can be easy to dismiss it because the therapist you're seeing isn't doing it for you.
Right.
But due to recent experiences, when you meet a therapist that you click with,
right,
as a person,
right,
that you have things in common with,
right,
and then they show up to support you through some emotional stress,
right,
it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, but that just sounds like a good friend.
And so be it. However, good friends can be a little naturally biased.
Right.
For you. Mm-hmm. And that can be a little dangerous too. Mm-hmm. I think the perspective that a outside person, be it a therapist, can offer is extremely valuable. So I don't think therapy is the one true answer to dealing with your problems, but I think it is a useful tool in terms of
I guess I could put it to you like this. I think therapists aren't as great as helping you deal with who you are, but helping you deal with people around you, which in turn will help you re-identify some things about yourself.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think identifying yourself is that long, lonely journey, man.
Lifelong process.
Yeah.
Totally.
And you just got to embrace that for what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And some people just can't hang.
Yeah.
And, that's where suicide and all these other things come into. But to go to someone and think that they're going to be able to, I just think that's unfair, really, to yourself. You know what I mean? That's just my personal thing.
Sure.
But
sure. Well,
also,
if you don't.
Sometimes I feel very lonely. So there you go. Maybe I need to go get this therapist thing going.
I think when you are looking to better yourself or to heal in some way, no option should be looked at as unapplicable. I think you should try everything. If the goal is to better yourself, then without having to abuse drugs or alcohol, then why not? You know what I mean? Right, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think it just means, okay, well, time to move on to something else.
Don't get me wrong, man. Dealing with certain people in my life that are close to me, you know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh, we probably should go to therapy just because I feel like I can't.
I feel
like I want
to
communicate with you. I feel like we are even trying to communicate with each other, and it's just not lining up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in those situations, I think a mediator is more or less what I'm looking for, but someone that's trained and to understand the thought process.
Sure. Yeah.
And to respect that.
Right.
You know what
has
I mean?
A structured outlook on what the next step is.
These feelings kind of naturally bring on these feelings.
It does give you some peace of mind to know that to either A, validate the way you're thinking,
right,
or B, give you some direction that you were looking for.
It's almost like an emotional DNA test.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you where you numberly genetically come from in Africa, from 7,000 places.
Yeah.
And I'm going to mentally tell you, these are symptoms of this.
Or
these are symptoms of this.
Or your blueprints are in African and you can't read African. So you go to Africa to get somebody to read your blueprints.
Right.
And now you have a little better understanding of the layout.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
What's your favorite thing about your zodiac? And what's your least favorite thing?
Oh, man. I think most people like cancers.
Do you know who else is a Cancer?
Who?
Tom Cruise.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool
Most
cancer.
Most people like Tom Cruise.
Most people like Tom Cruise. You
that know him, they mostly like him. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The thing that I dislike about cancers the most is that we can be pretty self-destructive.
Yeah, fair. Yeah. A little brutal on the reflection.
Right.
Yeah.
Of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a heavy burden to carry because it doesn't allow you to be. I think that's why I got into pot when I did and exploited it a little bit at the time because it was just so heavy, especially in adolescence. You're like, oh, this fucking world and, sexuality and maturity. And it was so much. And it was like, I just need to get out of my head and get out of my shell for a little bit, you know?
Right.
I think being the same sign,
sensitivity
is my favorite and least favorite aspect of being a Cancer. I don't like being so vulnerable in a lot of ways.
It's a lot of times where I wish I could say, no, Keith, leave it alone.
Yeah.
And I can't.
Yeah.
Some type of way.
Yeah.
I got to let you know I got a problem.
You dig your nails in and you can't take them out.
And I'm not going to take them out. It's literally some things that I've been joking about with people for years that they don't think is funny.
Yeah.
But it's my way of constantly letting them know this one little thing about you makes me uncomfortable.
Sure. Well, it's also, it's interesting because I do at times feel like I'm a sleeping giant in terms of temperament. You know, if I were, and I don't put myself, and maybe that's the balance, is I don't put myself in a lot of sketchy situations as far as violence is concerned or solving problems through violence, is because if I open that door, chances are I'm going to black out and I'm not going to remember, but it's going to be bad.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like when I was talking about that thing with, being America's worst nightmare, what they see in a black man. Like it's been moments in my life where like I've recently where I just wanted to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, even as a young black man, and gangs were popular, and I would see my cousins and stuff do that, and I just never went that route because I'm kind of like with you on that. Like it's a Pandora's box with me, man.
Yeah.
Like I open that door, brother, like it's not getting closed because it makes me comfortable. Yeah. Like I really have comfort in that. Like if a person makes me uncomfortable and I really felt like I could just delete you like a button, like it's gone. You know what I'm saying? Like I would be cool with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not how society works, And I also have a problem with being incarcerated.
Yeah. There's a lot on the line.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I throughout my life, I've never indulged in, well, I can't say never, but I've tried to steer clear of, emotionally heightened situations, especially with men who want to challenge me physically, because I feel like I'm not going to fight if I'm not angry.
No.
Because if I'm angry, I won't feel a fucking thing. And I won't go down without making sure something is broken. Right. Because it is just that. It's a survival tactic, It's like you have crossed that line and here we go, Like I have pretty good control of that at this point in my life, and always kind of have, but I know it's there.
And maybe that's what I always felt with you, Mike. Yeah. Because as a man, I never felt intimidated by you in a physical sense. Yeah. Sometimes you would start talking about some things and I'd be like, yo, I don't even know how to go down this rabbit hole with you, man, but I'm going to try to keep up with you right now. Right? Yeah. But physically, I just never felt that because I always just felt like we both identified, like, what would it prove? What would it, right? You know what I mean? There's nothing to gain here from that. Yeah. Right? Because for us to really go down that hole, you know what I mean? It would be something that's not good for anybody. You know what I mean?
Well, there's too many other options.
You would have to piss me off, right? Yeah. Like to that extent. And I would have to piss you off to that extent. Yeah. And I just would never do that. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas I could kind of be intimidating to other people and they would completely like freak out or sure. It's a bit of down.
Again, it's a poker game, right, and you can shut people down. But I think when we're obviously smart enough to know that there are options and that violence doesn't really ever have to happen. No. And even if you have to humble yourself and turn the other cheek, that's even better than getting in a potentially bad situation.
Yeah, I actually prefer to, man. Yeah. Because I get to go to sleep at night.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, there's been a few times where I chose the other option, and in spite of it feeling good, I still got hurt. Yeah. And it still sucks to have a black eye. Yeah, it still sucks to have your knuckles beat up. And it still sucks to, feel like they'll have a punctured lung or something.
Sure.
And it still sucks to deal with the fact that this person can come back and retaliate on me. And this is going to a whole nother lane with me. Yeah. I don't forget,
Yeah. You don't want to bring that kind of energy into your life. Right. Because it is traumatizing for one. And then two, there's no guarantee whether you win or not. There's no guarantee of that success, staying successful. Right. So, I think that intellectually it's just, you can't ignore.
I do feel like Cancer men are pretty dope lovers.
Well, I've never had anybody disagree. in the midst of a trial period.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, those test drives.
You know what it is, though? It's like in terms of empathy and feeling another person's feelings.
Like, I legitimately feel like you feel that person, right?
And you only thoroughly enjoy it when they enjoy it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's when we kind of talked about that when you first got here.
Right.
Yeah, I think as a man and in this reality with the egocentric culture, it'd be cool as an idea, but at the end of the day, I kind of like to connect to somebody to experience the full effect of connection, and intimacy and so forth. I see eye to eye on both those things: violence and romance. Totally. Okay, great. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Growing up, I always wanted to be a businessman. I always had this what is going on?
Sorry. It's the other TV. Fuck.
Okay. Yeah.
Goddamn technology.
All right, go again.
Okay.
Okay.
I asked you what you wanted to be. I'm going to keep that in there.
Yeah.
'Cause that's fucking rude. Okay, you said you wanted to be...
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to be a businessman.
Okay.
Yeah. And I always knew I wanted to own property. I had a dream when I was a little kid that I was driving in a white truck through a neighborhood, and I pulled up to a park, and all the kids knew me. Like, they ran up to my truck, Mr. Curry, Mr. Curry, and I was giving the kids candy and stuff and just kind of hanging out with them. But I was definitely a role model and a big, a huge figure in their lives, And, I never knew if that was like public office or, but I just always knew I wanted to own my own, land, apartment complexes, stuff like that, to help people. And that's just kind of what I always wanted to do. And I knew the only way to really get that type of capital was through some form of business. So I think that's why I, felt like a businessman. I think there was a small part of me that felt like I would be a preacher or a minister one day.
Have you made any attempts at that?
Small ones, but my conviction of who I am as a person, I don't think I need to be perfect, but just the way I see the world, the way I see the church, and how a lot of black communities, so we're really dealing with this turn the cheek thing right now, and it's like I can't go to a congregation full of people suffering and tell them to just keep praying on the Lord and these things will change for you. At some point we got to do something to change it. I think religion has been used a lot as a crutch, into, kind of like a teething thing for a baby, or a chew toy for a dog that you crate, right?
Sure.
Like, here, take God and chew on it for a while. He'll make you feel better till I come let you out this cage in relations to a dog. But, and I don't want to be that type of preacher. I just can't do it.
You'd like to offer a real solution.
I think the church is the community. I think the church should offer jobs to the community.
Yes.
Should offer resources to a community. Churches should own daycares. Churches should own car lots. Churches should own banks.
Yeah.
Not directly because they're a nonprofit. But you have to look at the identity of a church as well. The church is the only thing that really gives a black man some of the same benefits as most white counterparts. As I can go and be a CEO, a preacher of a large church that gets tax write-offs, and you get what I'm saying? So culturally, I just didn't want to just be identified as that, as a black man, right? So, I wanted to be a businessman when I grew up. I was always interested in the farming and real estate. So,
interesting. I wonder why. You had this dream at a young age?
Young age. I was probably like 7.
And what was your influences around that time? I mean, were there other business owners in your family?
I was just watching my dad. We were living in Alaska at the time, and I was very curious about my upbringing, and I always knew that my grandfather was a farmer but was killed, and that just kind of always stuck with me, man, as a kid, you know. And I seen, being a military brat, I seen how different my life was, which wasn't great. You know, I have vivid memories of going to bed hungry.
As a military brat?
As a military brat.
Interesting.
And my dad's not a bad dad. You know what I mean? He's not an irresponsible person. It's just life, right? Going back home and being almost a celebrity to everyone else. And I'm like, hold up. You know, I would never tell him I was hungry just like you 2 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it gave me a true grasp of reality that, you know, service members and, you know, all this stuff is a part of some type of system, and you need to figure this out, because you can be like them and be hungry, or be like your dad who fights for this country and your kids can still be hungry. Right? So it really opened my eyes to things, and I think that's when I started to gravitate towards what made my grandfather so successful, and what could I do to really change people's lives. I'm not stuck on changing the world, right?
Yeah.
But I think people like me that change a little bit and provide a little opportunity collectively change the world. I'm just trying to figure out how to do my little piece.
Right.
I mean? So,
I got you. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm a very big believer in that philosophy, is personal change and personal responsibility. I think, you know, as far as the world problems are concerned, it's easy to get overwhelmed when you think you need to solve some big issue in the world. But the truth of the matter is how you conduct yourself in your personal life, in your relationships, in the community. That's your only true legacy.
And you know what? And it's fun. It's cool that you say that, because right now I've been very angry kind of in this point in my life, dealing with so many things that are almost successful, knowing that if I was probably from a different background, I would have made at least half of these attempts at this point. But I'm doing my part. You know what I mean? I'm the second dude to graduate from the firefighter academy in my county, because I'm doing my part. Yeah. Right. Every time I go somewhere, as far as my business or trying to get a federal contract or a state level contract, I am the only black guy in the room. Yeah. Well, it's easy for me to be frustrated. Yeah. Because I'm the only one putting myself and projecting myself to that environment. Sure. Because I'm trying to do my part. Yeah. Right. So, like, I have to give myself a break sometimes and just realize, you know, it's not that bad, but it feels that bad to you because you're always in that situation. You're always trying. Yeah. Always trying. And the thing I admire the most is, for me and where I sit in the world, it can seem easy to sort of judge other people's perspectives. When I hear about an angry black man, it's disturbing to me, depending on how they handle it. Mm-hmm. And I say it like that because I understand there are some issues that you're concerned about, heavily concerned about, right, and that deal with on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. But your effort to normalize your presence in the community and to be an example of balance is the impact that the world gets from you. Right. And I know you at times you may slip up and deal with things out of frustration, which is human, but the most consistent thing you can do for the community is to show up, be a good version of yourself. You don't have to be perfect, but when you're out in the world and people aren't so good at handling pressure, they look to you for an example, and you can change a life just by putting a smile on and going on about your business under the same pressure, you know? Right. And I think that's the only real way to change the world. It's the only way to create any version of world peace is to take your responsibility in what you've created and do the fucking best you can. Right. You know what I mean? It's a tough gig, but for sure. That's what I admire is, I'm okay with your stance on being a black American. Mm-hmm. When in other situations I get a little frustrated because I feel like, well, you're so angry, but what are you doing? Right. And with you,
you're just out there, trying to get through the same stuff, but you.
Well, because I had the same stance. You know what I mean? I can't sit around and, how they say, blame white people for all your problems.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not blaming them for all my problems. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be able to do the same things for my kids that they can do for theirs.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm with it. I'm going to probably eliminate this next question because I think it's nonsense, but for the sake of it maybe not being nonsense, do you like people? Generally, do you like people?
Kind of. I want to like people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like when I went to I like people. I just hate the society, the capitalist society that we live in that forces us as people to do bad things to each other.
Fair.
Yeah.
So your opinion had changed at some point?
Yeah, I used to love people.
And this was before you were military?
After.
After?
Yeah. I think it recently changed as a civilian.
Yeah.
Coming back to reality.
And living in the civilian world for a while.
Yeah, because the military, you live under the uniform. You live under a flag that gives you a certain perspective and a certain level of respect and dignity because you have a uniform. Yeah, you deal with some crap stuff, like bad car salesmen that go after, young soldiers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But it's just a bad car salesman, you know what I mean? But once you take that uniform off, and you can't hide behind that anymore. It's just you, buddy.
Yeah.
You got to take this world for what it is and how it feels about you. Like the other day, I went to go to my truck. Truck been in storage less than, 3 weeks. Somebody wouldn't cut the Cadillac converter off of it because they can get $500 for it.
That's the thing right now.
$7,000 part, man, to get replaced on my truck. And I'm trying to start a business.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, if I would have seen the person while they were doing it, I just hate to even think, because I would have let a lot of anger out on that individual.
Yeah.
That I felt I could do that. It justified in my mind because they were doing a bad thing to me. Right?
Just causing another hurdle in your process.
Right. But that person's not bad, man. You know what I'm saying? They just trying to survive and they just want to get high or just want to whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like
I do.
It's
you
nothing
don't
personal
know.
Against me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. It's not about
but it's the society that we live in, this capitalist society. Right. Yeah. If people had better opportunities, people would probably be less likely to deal with their emotions with drugs.
Sure.
And, drugs become that way of life for them.
Yeah.
And to keep that way of life going, they go and commit crimes.
Right.
But if, like I said, it all boils back to them having better options in life.
Yeah.
Now, some people just can't deal with their mama slapping them 2 times when they were a kid. Granted, you're going to have those people. But, again, if we did live in a capitalist society, those people probably would be in a home somewhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Getting help.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you, I have to say this. I do want to ask about your military experience at some point, maybe after these questions.
Okay.
And I'll kind of tag it into the other conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll wrap up the questions and then I'll ask you. You have things to do today?
No, just ask the questions, man.
Okay, cool. How do you feel about America's future?
It's bleak.
I've heard that before.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Where we are headed, it's not good.
Okay.
We used to be able to live underneath a facade. That's why I didn't vote for Obama. He was a facade of a black man. But in reality, he is an African American, not a black American.
Yeah.
He ain't from Arkansas. He ain't from Detroit. He ain't from Chicago. His mother's a white lady from Kansas and grew up in Hawaii, and his dad's from Kenya and is a chief. So essentially he's a prince. Okay. And I don't like facades. America used to run off of the American dream, which was the idea that you can do anything that you want to do and be able to make a living for your family, have your own business, little house, white picket fence. This is slowly changing to not a reality in America no more. And once we don't have that, what do we have? Nobody really follow politics anymore. I mean, this is the first president that we've ever had that doesn't even truly have a cabinet. So there's really no government. This is no different from Saddam with the Ba'ath Party, or Kim Jong-un, or however you pronounce his last name. He just has a bunch of puppets around him. There's no government. There's no structure. And people are getting really comfortable again with being racist.
Seems that way.
Yeah.
Certainly seems that way.
They're getting comfortable with it. We're comfortable with mass shootings. We're comfortable with people being racist. There's nothing really that says, hey, I'm American. I used to love being in the military. I used to love being American. I used to love being American because when I was black American living in England, Africans didn't like me because I was a black American. Take that for instance. Whites didn't like me over there because I was a Yankee. It had nothing to do with me being black, right? So I was able to take pride in being American because this was the first time in my life that I wasn't a black man.
Yeah.
I was something else.
Right.
I was a
You were being hated for something completely different.
Yes.
Yeah. That was
from
interesting.
Where I come from.
Yeah.
Not because of what my skin color was.
Yeah. The sound of your accent too. Yeah.
And I love that.
Just outside the base.
Yeah. So, man, it was really, I don't know, man. I just think that we're headed to a really bad place. You can't really afford a home anymore. Healthcare, these things that are just, I really don't know what to tell my kids to look forward to.
Yeah.
College degrees are like diplomas now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only debt that you can't file bankruptcy on, so it's something that's
the most expensive.
And it's the most expensive.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a doctor, okay, we'll be prepared to pay back $250,000 in loans.
Yeah.
And if you marry another doctor, that's $500,000.
Mm.
And then most doctors only become PAs and have a small practice and make $75,000, $80,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
In reality. So, brother, I don't know where we go from here.
Mm-hmm.
Bleak. Even you look at truck industry, right? So
Yeah.
West Memphis, Arkansas, the truck stop capital of the world. No freight truly moves east or west without going through that corridor. That is like the east and west boundary for all freight, cargo, goods, whether it's coming from China, wherever. Memphis, Tennessee, West Memphis, Arkansas, 55 I-40. Can't get around it. All right? I used to have uncles that worked 6 hours a day, 4 days a week, and make $275,000 a year. One truck on my truck. 08 Bush deregulated commerce and transportation. Now you got guys basically working for slaves, right? A guy can own his own truck. In fact, my father just got out of his truck. He cleared $137,000 last year and was in the hole $30,000 because his truck needed service, maintenance, and parts and fuel. And there's no what industry can a man make a living and take care of his family?
Yeah, it's all skimming by, huh? Majority of people, even the military. Yeah, skimming by. I work about 50 plus hours a week, and I couldn't do it alone. Right. With a partner, it's manageable. Right. But we're just floating. Anything big happens, we're we can expect some damage. Right. But yeah, it's tough. Definitely tough. Right. I don't have an opinion either. I mean, I'd like to believe, but I know that through my ignorance, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'd like to believe that things are going in the right direction. I mean, even things that are outside of politics and stuff, just culturally, there's no cool movies anymore.
There's no cool movies that just make you say this is changing something. There's no more Back to the Futures. There's no more.
Well, Black Mirror is pretty damn cool. You seen
Black
that?
Mirror? No.
Yeah. You haven't seen Black Mirror?
No, I'll check it out.
Black Mirror is all about the future. And it is a little creepy because it takes technology to the next level. Those things you think or know technology is going to be able to do, such as an implant that you can run through recorded memories that you saw with your own eyes.
Right.
You can, like a phone, you can scan through those memories.
Right.
Things like that.
Right.
You got to check out Black Mirror because that
Okay.
is pretty epic in terms of new media.
Right.
But what you're saying, I think, is movies don't put the same effort into storytelling. It's all computer generated.
They don't.
And there's a lack of effort in making things very different.
And very good.
Yeah.
High quality. You look at like Indiana Jones, like they just spent gobs of money on like creating this world to take you to.
Yeah.
Like we don't even have
Right.
culturally,
kids don't have that.
They don't have
luxury.
that. No.
Yeah.
They, you know what they have? Like endless apps that just show each other beating each other up.
Yeah.
Cops shooting black kids or kids in general.
Yeah.
Just negativity, you know what I mean? Like, and it's all on the feed, and people like live this other world on.
It's the speed of media too.
Right,
Things
right,
are
right.
being
Instant,
cranked out
because of the instant
fast.
gratification. Right?
Yeah.
And it's just dangerous.
Yeah.
Just dangerous. My kids jump from thing to thing so quickly.
Yeah. Not just your kids, every kid.
They want that gratification. This is boring. Next.
Yeah.
This is boring. Next.
Boredom is
where you and I would watch the same David Chappelle shows over and over and over again because this was new. Where did this guy come from with this? You know what I mean? And we were just so entertained about this new thing that was happening.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Of course.
This doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
In this day and age, we would have watched the whole series of the David Chappelle show in one sitting and been waiting for the next biggest, greatest thing.
On a more positive note, if you look at generations before, let's say on a radio show 30, 40 years ago, two grown men our age at that time going through the same conversation about where the world's going could seem pretty bleak. Oh, they're landing on the moon. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. This is going to lead to, this new colored television thing is going to get out of control. People are too easily stimulated you know what I mean? Like,
I could understand it from the aspect of socially, like, as far as things that we were experimenting with, as far as entertainment and stuff like that. I totally see it. You're never going to get away from that, right? Economically, though, I don't think, other than everybody felt like it was on the up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think people are really starting to realize that this is it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The struggle is here. It's real. This is our reality.
Yeah.
And there's no up from here. It's just make it how you can. And I think that's people's reality that they're starting to deal with. And that's sad to me. That's sad that that's the American vision that we're starting to envelop.
Perhaps it is hard for me to see it so bleak because I'm so happy in my current situation. Maybe that's because of my relationship with Adriana. Perhaps that's a big part of it. Perhaps it's because of my relationship with my son. These personal relationships have made me feel rich beyond wealth, beyond money, and maybe that's why I have such a struggle seeing things as bleak, because I feel
totally, man.
I feel that that my heavenly experience is here and now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not in pain, although I'm not making a ton of money.
Right.
I'm not living out my dream job. I'm not having those experiences. But in terms of counting your blessings, I feel like I've got a pretty good inventory.
I think what you're saying is very accurate, and sometimes I have to deal with the fact that maybe my own desire for wealth is my own prison.
Sure. Is it wealth or success in business?
Both. I mean, I want both.
Right.
Ultimately,
one
I
usually
want both.
comes with the other.
Right.
But I think your identity issue with, you said from a young age you had a dream of this particular identity. Through your business ownership, you help the community.
Right.
But I think the vision you have of Keith in the future the wealth is a part of it, but I think that ultimately who you see yourself as, it has a lot to do with business ownership.
Right.
And I think maybe that's the biggest frustration for you, is that seems like such a stretch even now.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
But I know so easily if I would just let it go, my life would be so fulfilled.
So then what's the problem? What's stopping you?
I feel that men in my situation in the past have thrown in the towel, and that's why we can't compete on, going back to being a black man. That's why a black American cannot compete globally, economically, or in commerce.
So you feel sort of culturally obligated to withstand the pressure.
I have to become something more than a black man.
Okay. I don't know if I even want to try and talk you out of that. Because that's your deal, and fair enough. It's your journey.
Right.
I just hope
right.
that as my friend
right.
and as a person I hold dear, I hope that you find a way to ease your life and to experience blissful joy for long periods of time. And I think the pressure you put yourself under hinders that experience often enough. And whether you experience that through fatherhood or through, some sort of creative outlet, whatever the case is, I hope that that's the ultimate outcome. Because for you to chase this identity or this dream or this obligation as a black man could end up passing you by some great opportunities to be happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. To the 10th degree.
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah. All right. I think you're working on that. even if it's not consciously. I think that you, having been around the world, I think you know in your heart what's real happiness, and it's just fighting that inner child to that point. That's really the true battle. Is who the hell are you, Keith?
Right.
Where is home? Well,
where is home?
Yeah, well, home is inside. And I think maybe that's why I feel that Sacramento's home. This is just where I've allowed myself to find happiness.
Right.
Because quite frankly, Earth is home.
Right.
Nowhere belongs to anybody. It's all fucking Earth.
Right.
So I think that's a stupid argument on its own. The Philippines are home to me.
Right.
No, it's not.
Right.
It belongs to that part of the world. You're here and now, and like your house is where you know what I mean. It just seems kind of silly.
Right.
All right. What's the worst experience you've had at your current job? Wait. First of all, you have 2 businesses you're running.
No. Yes.
And you're a firefighter, working for the state of California.
Working for the county of Merced, which we're contracted to CAL FIRE, so technically, yes.
Okay. So 3 occupations.
Yeah. And prior to that, I was working at the UC.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then let's just go with the firefighting career.
Right. Okay.
What is the worst experience you've had in firefighting?
The worst experience I've had is the lack of opportunity. It's like firefighting is cool, you know what I mean? But I went to a situation where firefighting has this deep culture of kind of like the boys club, you know what I mean? You got to be proven to be here. And I went to a situation where I felt like I'm going to an all veteran crew, and it's going to be positive. Like we can talk about combat and things that bother us, but at the same time go do this very manly type job, and handle business and, do some bro stuff, hang out, and it was kind of the complete opposite of that. I walked into a situation where, I had to prove my manhood. And I just wish society would understand that for a black man, this is a very touchy subject, period. And man, it was toxic. It was just a bad situation, because I have nothing to prove to you people. You know what I mean? Like,
so give me an example of why, what that impacted, how that impacted your experience, like physically.
Because they would, I'll be honest with you, man. So for the county, I'm what they call a Schedule A and B firefighter. So I can go fight structure fires now and wildland fires, what are Schedule B fires for the state of California and CAL FIRE. Previously, I was a federal firefighter, which is all wildland. And, like the Into the Brave and, the movie you see with the guys. And that was a very loving and touching movie, you know what I'm saying? But in reality, it's a very barbaric culture. What have you done for me lately culture, the fact that I couldn't hike a mile almost vertically up a mountain with slate, within 20 minutes made me less of a man. I culturally could not identify with that. But to them, that's a real thing. What? You can't cut down 100-foot tree in a minute? Like, it's the end of the world. Culturally, I could not identify with that, right? Like, I've led 300 vehicle, 150 vehicles, convoys from Iraq to the Syrian border as a navigator, as a 20-year-old man. I don't identify with cutting down a tree that's a living thing with a chainsaw in 60 seconds doing anything for my manhood. But for those individuals, it did.
Sure. That's their Iraq.
That's their Iraq.
Sure.
I've already had my Iraq.
Do you think it's an age thing?
No.
Okay.
Because the old ones are just as bad as the young ones.
Okay.
Yeah. And it just wasn't a positive thing for me. And then I got hurt. And then dealing with workers' comp, federal workers' comp is just a nightmare. You think firefighters would get more respect and a better pay, but the reality is when I'm not on a fire, I'm making $12.80 an hour. All right, it's fry cooks that in and out making more than me, and they're not putting their life on the line. You know, so that just wasn't. That was my most unpleasant experience in a job. Yeah,
very eye opening.
Right,
because it is a very glorified career field, especially in California. Firefighting and very manly. Sounds like, and forgive my ignorant use of this term, but toxic masculinity comes to mind.
It is, and it's by far the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And you'll hear a lot of guys that say that, it's Green Berets and Navy SEALs that get into, federal firefighting, and they'll tell you hands down, this is the hardest thing you will ever do in your life. I think maybe certain forms of mining that are still manually done, or deep sea welding or something of that nature, maybe can compare. But you wake up for 21 days straight, possibly, definitely 14, and every day you're going to go to the same stretch of land, and it's just you and a tool. And
which is?
A hand tool like a Pulaski, or axe, and a pick, or a chainsaw that's mechanized. But it's you and this tool, and you have miles of line that need to get cut out in the middle of nowhere. And it doesn't go nowhere. Only you can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Smokey Bear really pointing at you and saying only you can prevent forest fires.
Yeah.
Nobody else is coming out here to do it. And it doesn't go nowhere. And it's just hours on hours on hours of cutting,
It's manual labor.
And you do it for crumbs. And then you also deal with people that feel
not far from slavery.
No. And then you deal with people, right, that really put this big masculine thing on it, right?
Yeah,
oh my God, this dude couldn't, my run time in my unit was the slowest. I ran 1.5 miles in 10 minutes and 18 seconds. For most people, they would be like, hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But there was guys in my unit that were ultra marathon runners, and they ran 1.5 miles sub 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Those are men.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was allowed in the culture of
to the point to where even though I got hurt and I still tried to go out with them hurt and everything else, that when I left, they called me in and my superintendent said, hey man, I need to get your shirts from you. I didn't earn enough honor to even be able to have my crew shirt that I paid for and leave that crew with my crew shirt. We need your shirts. Okay. Crazy.
That is insane.
Crazy, man.
Do you think that the physical tests that they put you through are adequate? Not
really. I think to a sense that you do need to be tough as nails.
Sure.
Right? Mentally, you need to be tough as nails. Physically, there is an aspect, a part of it that, you just need to be able to knock it out. You do need to be able to get out of the back of a truck, hike up a mountain range, essentially, and still be able to work a good 6-8 hour day. Most people will be done after they did the hike. And then you got to hike back out.
Yeah.
Right? And then you do this day in. And so there is a physical component that needs to be there. But some guys would go and say we would get to a location and just because they want to burn, right? We want to burn our own line. We're going to accept an assignment when we first get here just to kind of get some favor with the IC. Why put that unnecessary burden and stress on your guys?
What is the IC?
Incident commander.
Okay.
So my superintendent, when we first would get there, say you get a traveling day and you get there at 4 or 5. You don't fight fire at night, really. Most agencies don't. Not really. And he would get there and, hey, man, we're going to go up here and cut this ridge line out. And if it's some political fires, meaning fires that you can see from the highway, we'll put them out. Because that makes the IC feel good. Like, hey, this crew came in, they just got here, and they want to put some political fires out for me. All right, tomorrow, make sure you give them a good assignment.
Gotcha.
Now, we still could have got a good assignment, you know what I'm saying? But he wanted to burn. We got to burn. You know, we got to do what the hot shots do.
Yeah.
Why?
And this sort of narcissism and sort of fraternity personality is not shunned out. I mean, you would think with modern times that kind of thing would be.
No, it is what it is.
That's ridiculous.
It is what it is.
Because I think in most stories of perseverance, you hear of a team effort put in to support, emotional support to one another and to build each other up instead of, knock each other down. And it is, again, it's a toxic masculinity.
I think in anything that you do, there's going to be certain cliques amongst the group that do
some competitiveness. Yeah.
Well, they have some camaraderie amongst each other.
Yeah.
Right. But for the most part, it's still, if you can't do it just as fast as me,
you're less of
a man.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't, the man part.
Yeah.
I had no problem being weaker than somebody.
Sure. And working.
I'm confident in that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I have my way of doing things. You're talking to a person that's had 2 reconstructive hip surgeries, reconstructive pelvic surgery. I lost inches of my manhood for this country. A lot of men you look at in this world ain't gonna tell you that.
Yeah.
But this country got 2 inches of mine. Okay. So, me physically, I know there's just a process with me and I don't push it.
Yeah.
But I can get there.
Yeah.
But I'm not, for them, it's like, you're not really trying harder unless you throw up after every run.
Gotcha.
Me throwing up after a run would be the equivalent of me dying. Another person can throw up after a run just because they have a weak stomach, right? I don't throw up, right? So if you push me to the point of throwing up, everybody's different. If I push myself to the point of throwing up, I mean, I'm probably pretty close to not in a good situation. I'm in shock, right? So just kind of ignorant and just old school way of thinking. You know, you don't run people till they throw up, because once a person experiences heat stroke, you're sending them down a roller coaster that's very bad for them in this line of work. Yeah. You know, so difficult for sure.
What's the best experience you've had in this career field?
It has showed me business opportunities. I mean, I was in the film heavy. I wanted to do that. I was actually creating a business around that. I have a truck full of equipment. I mean, I am dedicated to it, and I was happy with it. Like, that's truly my pleasure. But I also seen that it had some feast and famine in it, right? Like, you have these moments where it's work, and then you might go 3 months without a job, 6 months without a job. I spoke to some of my professors. You know, this guy did all the sound design on the Titanic. Hey, man, I went a year without work. Well, how does the dude that did the sound design for Titanic go a year without work, right? So you're not vulnerable. I mean, you're not invulnerable. Yeah. I don't like that feeling. Sure. Cancer, right? Yeah. So, you know, I seen firefighting, and it was very clear to me that, hey, there is a sense of what they call it, the military war complex. I forget what they call it.
Beats me.
But pretty much is where there's a lot of money that's involved in firefighting, right? There's an economic system that's involved in firefighting. And, it showed me a way to where I could make some money, you know, some lucrative money. And if I never approached firefighting, I never would have seen those opportunities. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So at the same time, I prayed to God, like, hey, you know, show me something where I could really make some coin, and not kill myself, still be a father. Right. Yep. And firefighting was that. And I'm going to forever be grateful for that.
Did you gain any introspect after putting yourself through such physical hardship at a later age? Because you had already done the Army thing. Mm-hmm. You know, I would imagine you did some training for the police, mm-hmm. and then all of a sudden you're now in what seems to be the hardest physical mm-hmm. training out there, right. based on what you said about SEALs and, right. you know, so did you, because me personally, just training up to the point to taking the physical part, doing the course for law enforcement, really instilled some long lost confidence in myself, right. in my athleticism. I
mean, I felt like a stud, you know.
Yeah, it's nice to get that back, huh?
Right. I mean, you know, to be able to, I mean, I was training for a marathon in the midst of a season. Like, that's how good a shape you get in. Yeah. That once the season starts going and you stop that competitor, you know, that hardcore PT in the morning because you're going out on active fires and stuff like that, that your body has a drive for it. So I was doing like 20-mile runs. You know, my long run was up to like 20 miles a week, you know. And that's one run, you know. So
that's David Goggins type of shit, right?
Right, but that was a guy in that realm of that world. That was a guy almost getting to that level of prestige. Yeah. Right? Like, these dudes do ultra marathons. 26.4 miles isn't enough for them. We do 50 milers. Yeah. Because we're beyond men.
Sure.
Right. So I never really wanted to embrace that, but it did show me that, hey, man, you still got it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Till I blew my shoulder out.
Which is good. Yeah. Wow. How'd you blow your shoulder out?
Cutting fire line in Arizona. Yeah. And what sucked is I did it towards the beginning of the season. Ugh. And it was a bad situation, man. It was a bad situation.
That bad, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, man, but I mean, it comes with the territory. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Definitely. I didn't get that far.
No.
In the physicality of trying to find this kind of work. I also found that looking for this kind of work, you just wanted to feel something meaningful. I did. What started with me is I watched a documentary on Flint, Michigan, and I was watching the law enforcement officers in that documentary and thinking these people have every reason to leave,
Right.
yet they're staying,
Right.
because they want to see this community get better. And that just meant the world to me. It was
Right.
just like, oh, okay, that would be nice. That
Right.
would be nice to have a profound career like that, and that's what sparked it for me.
Right.
But,
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I dreaded the moment of really being a cop.
did you?
I would have did it,
Yeah.
and I would have did it honorably.
Yeah.
But when I went on ride-alongs and stuff like that, man, it's like you talk to the guys, and then like they would get out to go confront somebody for speeding or something like that, and they would hit a switch, man. It's like they turned into an instant jerk almost,
Sure.
And I know it's a defense mechanism, right?
Yeah.
It's not them really trying to be a jerk towards the people. It's them trying to exert authority in the situation. But I guess what gave me, what inspired me and wanted and influenced me to continue to pursue to become a cop is one which you kind of hit on a couple times yourself. How are you going to say something unless you're trying to actively do something? And secondly, I wanted to be a liaison between young minority people, young people in general, and laws. Like, we just don't understand our rights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Of course.
Like, I want to be the guy that pulls you over and say, hey, man, this is my right as a cop to pull you over. This is stuff that I should not do. Have a great day. I'm still going to give you a ticket.
Yeah.
Right. But I want to educate you. Right. I want you to be aware. Right. Of what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
If you have an issue with a cop, man, these are the people that you can contact.
Yeah.
I had no problem doing that. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's what I felt like was the balancing point.
It's the missing link in
and
the
it
situation.
made me feel okay to become a cop.
For sure.
All right.
And I agree. I think that is the essence of why to do anything like that.
Right.
Is to...
Because you're putting your life on the line for sure.
Yeah. Right. And then we share the community, whether in the cop car or the car that's getting pulled over. We share the community and we have to work together.
Right.
It just,
Right. I think just old school policing, man, where it was like, the dude might have some drugs in his pocket, but hey, man, listen, you can't, this ain't your block. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's really get past this.
Let's look at the decision
that you're making right now.
Made most previously.
Right.
Let's walk me through that, and then let me offer you some perspective.
Right.
And then you can start making better choices.
Right. Right.
I think the biggest issue with any of social structure is mental health. That's the bottom line. Mental health, lack of resources for police departments, lack of resources for people in poverty. We need help. People need help.
And they get burnt out too.
Yeah.
The cops get burnt out too.
Of course.
Right? These people become demonized to them. I remember going through EMS training, and I'm like, how can you have this perspective on homeless people? They're homeless. Right? Oh, they think we're a freaking taxi cab. Man, leave that dude on the curb. And it's just like they start rattling off all this stuff, and it's like, dude, you need to talk to somebody.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the cops need to talk to somebody too, right?
That's what I mean.
Like you have lost your way, brother.
Yeah.
And I understand that we collectively have done it.
Yep.
As far as we're all firefighters, or we're all paramedics, or EMTs, or we're all cops. Reel it in, brother. Reel it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need support more than they're getting.
It's one question you sent to me, man. I'm waiting to hear it. Because I've halfway been thinking of my answer.
Give me a second. Let me finish these. Because I want to ask about your Army experience.
Okay.
And I want to ask about that.
Right. Okay.
So bear with me, and I'll cut this to the point where people can... I'll tag it onto the earlier conversation we had. But let's get through this list. And
Okay, cool.
And we'll delve into that.
Right.
What would you change about yourself? I was going to ask, the other question I skipped is, what would you change about your career? But I think I know what that is. And that's to change the structure of how things are handled in the academy and the process.
For sure. The process is, in all of these things, is very bias to certain demographics of people. We don't even have to put a color or a race on it. It's just the way that it is.
Right.
You know,
some outdated, outlandish way of looking at men.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, because essentially you're talking about a situation where a young man still lives with his parents, and this is what he just always knew he wanted to do with his life. But that might not be the best cop. That might not be the best firefighter.
Yes.
And this is not the reality that we live in anymore.
Yes.
People lose their jobs, right?
Yep.
Stuff happens, right? Yeah. So,
yeah. So that's why I kind of skipped over that. Yeah. I kind of figured it seems pretty evident.
Right.
Even if, having listened to this podcast, you'd think, I'd like to change that. That sounds shitty.
Yeah, it is pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, but after going through what you've gone through, and even today, what would you change about you? If you could just snap your fingers and change something, what would that be?
Growing up, man, I was always education was kind of a hard thing for me, and man, I just always wanted to be good at math, and I just wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I would always try to find basis to relate to the stuff we would be reading in class and things like that, and I just couldn't. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I just wish that was different for me. You know what I mean? I felt like if I was a little bit stronger academically as a person, the sky would be the limit for me.
Well, check this out. Okay? Because I think you have a habit of limiting your perspective on how your worth, your true value.
Right.
And I do the same thing. But I think over the years, I've had the same issue with like literal math, academically, mathematics.
Right.
Not really good at it. Never really have been.
Right. Is it a cancer thing?
I don't know.
Yeah. But
I know that it's common between you and I.
Right.
But what I've figured out is that I'm not necessarily good at math with numbers, but I'm good at math with people.
Right.
Putting two and two together when it comes to watching someone in their world conducting themselves in their relationships.
Right.
I can see the math when I hear stories about what situations they're in, what situations they're trying to navigate through.
Right.
Watching random strangers in the world.
Right.
Their personalities, their reactions to things. I can see the math.
Right.
So it's not that I'm bad at math.
Right.
It's just the traditional academic version of math.
Right.
Maybe not great at.
Right.
And the same for you.
Right.
You can walk into any room, anywhere, and put a pretty good equation together and maybe create a team out of complete strangers.
Right. Right.
That's the math you're good at.
Right.
So I think it's liberating to know that maybe not so good in the traditional sense, but you are a mathematician in terms of people.
Right. And I totally respect what you're saying, and I totally understand exactly what you're getting at. And I always have prided myself on that, right? That I could walk into a situation and be pretty successful at it.
Yeah.
At making whatever needs to happen get done.
Sure.
With whoever you give me.
It's a leadership quality.
Right. Exactly. But you have to be allowed to be in those type of situations. Somebody has to respect you enough and trust you enough to handle those type of situations. People that are mathematically sound at math create their own situations. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes I just wish I didn't have to answer to people. And I could just make a successful path for myself.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Yeah.
You kind of get what I'm saying?
Sure.
So,
yeah. You just wish you had a little more magic in the hat.
Just a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I had just a little bit more swagger to pull out some big words every now and then.
Sure.
It's just a little bit more swagger to, maybe know a little bit something about analytics.
Sure. Yeah. I hear you.
How to do a little
I have the same desire.
I could walk in and be a little bit more nerdier than what I am.
Yeah. Same desire.
Socially, I'm a complete nerd.
Yeah.
I love people. I love this concept of life and this bubble, this whole I don't know.
This human experience.
Experience, right?
Yeah.
I'm totally hip with that.
Yeah.
And I'm all about that.
I understand. Trust me, and getting into the world of podcasting,
Right.
and having listened to people like Dax Shepard and Joe Rogan, who are, and even Pete Holmes, who has another one. It's called "You Made It Weird."
Right.
They are so articulate,
Right.
and so smart, and have so much knowledge of
Right.
many different things.
Right. Right.
I feel inadequate.
Right.
When I sum myself up in comparison to them, I feel
Right.
like, what am I even doing here?
Right,
But
right.
quite frankly, there is a large group of men out there who feel the same way,
Right,
who
right.
don't even try.
Who don't even try.
And you know what? To that I say, fuck it.
Right.
Fuck, who cares? Who
Right.
cares if I can say everything perfectly?
Right.
Who cares if I know what I'm talking about?
I think my guy is Osteen.
Joel Osteen?
Yeah, he's like a mathematician with like never screwing up where he's at as far as when he's laying something down, man.
Yeah.
The dude is a machine.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And it just flows.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like he's reading a teleprompter. I mean, it's just like he takes the perfect pauses. It's like, whoa, this dude's awesome.
Master speaker.
Master of speakers.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then Michael Savage from Savage Nation, which he's a little bit more
Aggressive.
yeah, he rubs you the wrong way sometimes.
Yeah.
But I love to hear what, some soccer moms riding home listen to.
Yeah, yeah.
And the way they getting fed. You know what I mean?
Right, yes.
And you got to know what your enemy's ammunition is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
saying anybody's my enemy, but, you just got to know what other people out there are listening to. In the
Totally,
world,
yeah.
or else you really don't know
Yeah.
your opposition.
I
Or
just-
what's out there against you,
Yeah. And I'm not perfect at it, but
Right.
I'm practicing giving myself permission to not feel inadequate. I've spent enough time in my life feeling like I don't measure up.
Right.
And I'm at a point now where it's like, well, who gives a shit?
Well, I mean, your gift of gab was always a little bit stronger than mine. And I would always say that, if I was to ever be halfway intimidated about you with something, I would notice sometimes when we would be in a bar, not even trying to hit on a chick, but we would both be having a conversation with a young lady. It would be moments I would step away because you were slightly more gifted at just kind of getting to the essence of something
Sure.
with an individual a little
Sure.
bit quicker than me.
Sure.
The only person in my life I've ever dealt with that with, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's why I always admired you a little bit. So I think you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing as a
Thanks.
friend, straight up.
Thanks, man.
And I don't blow smoke, man. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I can dig it.
yeah, definitely not this point in my life. No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
no.
Well, I like to liberate mostly myself, but other people who hold themselves up or hold themselves back from doing things they really want to do because they don't feel like they're enough. And just because I'm speaking to my own truth, like
Right.
I've done that long enough, and I know that success comes in sharing that experience with other people in opposition to what you experienced in firefighting.
Right.
Like in stand-up comedy, from what I understand, in the LA circuit with Joe Rogan and friends, the culture there has slightly changed. Whereas it used to be really competitive, is now more about supporting one another and being more loving and
Right.
more helpful to
Right.
each other. And I
Right.
think that is a much more productive way of doing things. And so,
Where I feel like where you can capitalize that, man, is that you have the ability to, when people come with the big words and they come with the fact sheets on what Abraham Lincoln did and George Washington did in 1776, when we get past all the BS, right, I think you can delve into a person's motives and what they're saying in a way that really makes them have to explain themselves
beyond just repeating something they heard.
Exactly, beyond facts.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Like you can use the facts to get to the essence of who they are as a person.
Yeah.
And make them deal with that.
Make them be human.
Make them be human.
Yeah.
That's your gift.
Yeah.
Right. So, be the smart guy's kryptonite.
I think that's
Right.
essentially
Right.
what Adriana
Yeah.
says about
Yeah.
me. Is
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
like, you
Be
make
the-
people feel vulnerable.
Exactly. Be the smart guy's kryptonite.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Fair
an
enough.
amazing. That's an amazing thing.
Well,
man.
we'll figure it out, man.
No,
I'm going to continue down
yeah,
this road and
yeah.
see who
And
I
as
can open up.
Yeah, and as you go along, and as you, and they totally won't see it coming.
Perhaps.
No.
I'm open to being educated. I think maybe that's the trade-off.
It's not about you not saying that you would more likely rather be just super smart than the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
But hey, you got a pretty cool side of the coin when you flipped it, right?
Yeah.
So to have that ability to still be able to comprehend and understand enough about life and facts and these things, right?
To carry on the
conversation, to get past the BS.
Sure.
Because when you deal with a super smart person, right? Or I can put it to you like this. When you deal with an educated man and they dealing with somebody that they feel are uneducated, they just bombard them with information. And the uneducated person gets overloaded and doesn't know how to translate their life experience, which is just as well as education, into something that matters to the public.
Yeah, something a little more tangible.
Something a little bit more tangible.
The lesser educated,
See, you that cross between that.
I represent the layman.
You right?
Yeah, the white collar layman.
I guess so. Yeah. If you want to put it in a bad, in a stupid.
If I want to put labels on it.
Yeah. But it's good, man. It's good. It's good.
Okay,
it's good. And the more you go through it, the more you will learn. Right. And then you'll slowly have to start catching yourself to not cross that bridge.
Yeah, true.
To not go to the dark side.
Stay humble, right?
Because you get. I'm telling you, you get, and that's another reason. Going back to Black America. That's another reason why we
stay
can't
away from my car.
That's because we can't get it together. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You made one paycheck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You made $200K 1 year of your life.
Yeah.
And now you have arrived. You know what I'm saying? You over there struggling to live in the golf club that don't nobody even golf at no more, but you have arrived.
Yeah.
Because when you drive through Oakland, you look like the man.
True.
Yeah. So never lose yourself in
that. And I'm glad you say that, because that is also something I want to keep in mind at all times, because I do have a spoiled child within me that would take the torch and go crazy and run around and act a fool and then and learn the hard way. Right. And I would like to avoid that. Right. The older I get, I'd like to make it a little bit easier.
Mike, you still got friends like me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's true. I do have a handful of people who will slap me silly until I see the light.
And you know what? I mean, I'm saying this for the sake of saying it, but it's not like I wake up every day and, this is how I want to feel.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When I came down here, I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed because it was a part of me that just wanted to just hang out with Big Mike, but I knew we would talk about issues that affect me now differently. As a man, as a grown man, as a 33-year-old man, I've changed.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't want to show our friends that we've changed.
Sure.
We just want to keep with the old and stick with the old, right?
Yeah.
Because that's fun and that's a release.
But as men in the same world and sort of the same community,
right,
we owe it to each other to be honest and open.
Right.
And I think that's important. I think it's important to know where you stand with certain political issues, because as we go out into this world, it seems to be getting crazier and crazier.
Right. Yeah.
I need to know that I have alliances in different corners that I feel safe with, intellectually, physically, emotionally, spiritually.
Right.
I think it's important to know who's in your corner, because when the shit goes down, I'm coming to your house.
Right.
Because you were in the army.
Right.
You know how to use a gun, and I'm fat. So
well, this is the thing, man. I hope what I can represent to anyone that may listen to this podcast, to you especially, even though I might sound like an angry black man, I don't want to put that label on myself, because I don't think that I am. I think I'm just inspired to better my culture.
I think being passionate about what you believe in is not a bad thing.
But trying to do it in a constructive way by business and being part of the community and being a part of the solution. I hope I represent when you really want to sit down and say, who can I go to honestly change this reality? If you feel a conviction in your heart, look for a brother of my character.
Yeah.
Right.
I know what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yes. Somebody who understands you.
Exactly.
And can kind of help you stay in line with your truth.
I know I can go to that dude and he's going to be real with me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's going to work with me. He just ain't going to be like mad and black and,
Yeah. No, if you say something outlandish, I will call you an idiot and challenge you. Yeah. I won't let you walk over me.
And I would never want you to let me do that.
Yeah, and I'm like that. I try to be with everybody I know, because if you're going to play a game and call some bullshit or say some bullshit, you have to know that it's not going to work in a relationship with me, because I need the truth. I've had some experiences in my life where I know that lying is not the answer, and I want you to know that it's not. I'm going to give you the resource of truth as much as I can possibly help. If I care about you, if I think you don't offer me any real perspective or any real support, then go on with your bullshit, and I'll see you next time. Same place, same time, whatever. But if you say something stupid like, yeah, I think I'm going to cheat on my so-and-so. Well, have you really thought about that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to challenge your thought process, because is it really what you want? No. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to really serve you in the future? I think that's what we need good friends for, is to keep us in line.
For sure.
How do you feel about artificial intelligence?
Oh, man.
With a military background, a firefighter background, you're pretty close to technology at the front line.
I would say, isn't all intelligence artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I kind of philosophically understand what you're saying. I think even human biology is manufactured through,
culture, what we do. As people,
and science as organisms, microorganisms, macroorganisms. I think we are designed by nature as an intellectual, intelligible.
But I mean, just more so, and people can't teach you how to feel, right?
Right.
We can't teach a machine how to feel, right? But at the same time, you're programmed to know how to do certain things, meaning you're taught how to do certain things.
Yeah.
In this reality, we add math, 2 + 2 = 4. What's the difference from telling a robot 2 + 2 = 4? At what point do you put a soul on something?
Yeah.
Right?
True. We just say we have a soul. We don't really know.
No, at what point sparks a soul? If you do something kind for someone because you were either programmed to do that or taught to do that, at what point was it your soul that told you to do it, or what you were programmed to do?
Yeah. Everything's man-made.
Everything is man-made.
But
you cannot get around it. Now, I know you're talking more on the sense of robots driving cars and things of that nature.
Or even end-of-world sort of scenarios. Robots taking over. Terminator.
I definitely feel that we are headed to a society where man-on-man conflict is near the end. I think, coming from a military point of view, it is much cheaper to put machines in the air that can do more damage cheaper.
With lower casualty.
The conflict in it and the problem in that is the cost of making the other side back down is no longer the men that are died on the front line, but the civilians that have died in their homes in their sleep.
Yeah.
This is the danger.
Yeah. Yeah. You're too removed.
Because what was Big Boy and Little Boy about, or Big Mama, or the atomic bombs about? It was essentially to make Japan quit, because we're going to put so much civilian carnage on your streets. Your society would never regain this culture of safety again.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to destroy what your reality of what you live in is, city by city. So we'll blow up Houston first. Okay, if you don't like that, we'll blow up Austin next. But we're slowly going to make our way to New York.
Yeah.
And what happens when the Russians blow up New York? I mean, they blew up 2 buildings and America about lost their mind. Imagine destroying the whole entire city. So it's not a good look. It's not a good look. But the days of, us fighting hand-to-hand, combat is over. Troops on troops has been over. My years of experience in Iraq was insurgency, guerrilla warfare. The Korean War was the same way. You know what I mean? So this is the way we've been fighting war for a while. But the way for the upper hand, America or, you know, more developed countries to get over guerrilla warfare was to say, okay, we'll just send drones in there. Right? And we'll just blow up half a village with one drone, with a pilot that sits in Florida, you know, in an unmanned drone. Okay, then what do the other developed countries do? Well, we'll get unmanned drones to knock down their unmanned drones. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at what point do you get somebody to stop when they just blowing up a bunch of machines? Human casualty still is the ultimate deciding factor.
Yeah.
So at some point, you got to start blowing up cities and not each other's drones and other robots.
Bleak. Well, that's depressing.
Yeah.
All right. We'll leave that one alone.
Now, how can I put this to you? There are viruses that exist that do have a form of their own ability to make decisions. And what I mean by that is it's in its infancy, but it works. So America, we would put half of viruses on thumb drives that would ultimately cause a big. So it's like we would put half of math problem into a thumb drive that ultimately when you put it into a computer and it started to do its thing, would make a complete equation that would do something that we would want it to do. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
it figures
the software, the half of virus would have to figure out how to get to that point.
Right.
We would just say you want to go this way.
Yeah.
However you get there, we don't know how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But you'll get there. But it makes real results. So for Iran, we would slow down 2 of their reactors in their nuclear plants. We would slow down 2 of the coils to go at a lower RPM, maybe like 100 RPM. It wouldn't set off any alarms, but it would throw the overall system off enough to where one reactor would malfunction. And Iranians could never figure it out. Right? And we'll go in there and check and say, oh, you guys are safe. Do what you're doing. But the whole time, we know we got 2 of their little coils humming at 100 RPMs, higher than the rest of the coils, and eventually that reactor is shut down. They'll have to start all over again. The problem with that software, that virus, is it's no control for it. Once it's gone, it's gone. So when you start talking about machines that are outraged, and there will be somebody, you know, the Snowdens of the world, the WikiLeaks guys of the world, that say, you know, it's enough of this craziness. I'm going to put something out there that I might, once it's gone, it's a Pandora's box. And we don't know where that may lead to. But you would have these very deadly machines out there with this thought, no different from a cult leader, right? Mm-hmm. But on a program, digital level,
yeah,
a cult leader that says, you know, we need to put an end to this. So the machine might say, I can't fight this other machine anymore. I have to go blow up where the machine came from because that's where the machine is controlled. Okay, well, that machine could be controlled in a metropolitan city. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
I do, yeah.
So it's not like I don't think they're just going to be like, oh, mankind is crazy. Let's develop our own society. But I do feel like there will be digital cult leaders, if you will, that will one day learn how to manipulate these things.
Well, it'll have its own evolution.
And it will have its own way of going.
Yeah. With
no control.
Right. And it will evolve as it does.
And that's a real thing that I told you about, Mike.
Human species are the same way. I mean, we started out as in infancy as, you know, cavemen, and
right.
Through time we learned, through pain and suffering we learned, and we are in the world with technology as it is today through years and centuries of mistakes.
Now, see, I get that point of it, but what I'm saying is I think that there's stuff that exists that could put a machine. Okay, you would think, realistically, how can a machine get on the loose? Do I think that a machine would literally say mankind can no longer control themselves? I must.
Right, it's not a Will Smith film,
I don't
is
think
what you're saying.
It's not that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is there's digital cult leaders.
Right.
They're going to put
I get
viruses
it. Yeah.
that are not fully controllable things.
Right. And not seeable by the human eye.
And we might get a result that we don't think that we're going to get.
Yeah.
Just like they say, be careful what you pray for.
Right.
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 Because I had a guy tell me the other day, I had money, I had the women, I had this, and I just wanted to be an ordinary Joe. And I was really stressed out, and I prayed to God for me to be an ordinary Joe. And that's exactly what happened to me. I'm a very ordinary Joe with a roommate. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
be careful what you pray for.
Right.
And I think we got a couple guys that will put a Hail Mary out there in the sake of feeling, we're going down the wrong path.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So there are viruses that do have these ability to program things, to do things that are out of our control.
Yeah.
And once they're gone, they're gone.
Right.
Now I foresee that being a very realistic AI disaster.
I'm scared right now.
Yeah.
Thinking of the possibility, it does put fear.
Right. And that's the big thing about the 5G. Because 5G, the way that technology works, and I'll be honest with you, is guys that I know that can't have children because we wear jammers and all this stuff to keep bums from blowing up on the side of the road, and it jacks your body up. It's a high dose of radiation.
Yeah.
And 5G has a high enough radiation to tamper with certain brain frequencies in a person's mind, in their body. And if you can pulsate these things at a certain way, is it possible to change a person how they think?
Yeah. Which is unforeseeable, still in beta mode.
Right.
As far as how that's going to
how
evolve.
Well, it's not unforeseeable in how what it can do. They know what it can do.
Yeah.
It's still in beta mode as far as how they can get it a mass network.
Yeah.
Right. Because right now it would have to be, you have to put an antenna on like every third house. Mm-hmm. Like that's kind of unrealistic.
Right.
But eventually they'll figure out how to make it work.
Sure.
But this is something that can actively, sir, make you sterile. Mm-hmm. Right. Your cell phone can't make you sterile right now.
Yeah.
Right. But our kids
impotent or sterile?
Sterile. Like you can't have children. Right.
I don't
like,
need it.
Yeah. Well, you get what I'm saying? Like, but and then if it can do that, if the radiation can do that, what else can it do in your mind? I'm pretty sure we can figure out other ways, the Russians especially.
Yeah.
Because
this is why I can't lose weight. It's my phone won't allow me to burn calories.
Yeah, it keeps burning that, fried food tastes good for you. It's healthy.
My thyroid.
Your thyroid activates your thyroid.
Yeah.
So it's a real thing, man.
It's not my fault. It's not my fault.
We should go back to 3210 Nokias and play Snake.
I'm down with that. Or little slider phones. Yeah.
My
Snake.
Razor. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I had the light up case, man.
I did too.
You was the boss if you had the little light up case.
I did too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'd be fine with that.
Hey, I used to be tripped out. You put it next to the stereo. It's like,
yeah. I think that's Venus.
They're talking to us.
That's pretty classic.
Yes.
Okay, let me look at this real quick here. Okay, good. Last but not least, there's a couple of this part of my podcast experience is evolving as well. Like my questions,
right?
And after we do all this, maybe you can offer a suggestion in terms of what would be interesting. But right now, I'm going with what I've written. So let's just go to this part. This part I call road rage. This is just an opportunity for you, because it's called Relative Roads.
Okay.
This is an opportunity for you to express either a pet peeve with humanity, a literal issue with the roads you drive on in your vehicle.
All right.
Something along those lines. Just a reason for you to vent, and then maybe to be able to offer some other perspective.
Okay. So rules. Rule number 1, I have to give you something that I don't like about humanity.
Okay.
Right. And then I have to give you something that I literally don't like about roads.
Okay.
Is that what we're doing here?
No, it's either or.
Oh, it's either or.
Yeah, it's relative roads is a way to describe people who may be in different lifestyles but experience similar situations. So it's fairly relative. Everything's sort of relative.
Right.
Or because we all travel for work or travel from to and fro. Like we all are in cars.
I got two for you.
Go ahead, give it to me.
All right. The first one is going to be kind of predictable, because just where I'm at in life. But I don't like that people really feel that we're different because of the way we look. I wish people would understand that we're different by the class of who we are. You know what I mean? For me, you're poor if you can't influence your child 24 hours a day. So if you have to send your child to a school and then somebody else picks them up, or you drop them off at a daycare, or your child sits at home for 2-3 hours a day, you're poor. Rich people don't do that. Okay. And us as classes of people need to come together, and I just don't see that happening. So I hate that. They divide us by how we look when we're all in the same boat. Right?
Okay.
And then as far as roads, can I talk about something that deals with the roads?
Yeah.
So truck stops, man.
Yeah.
Like, guys, just take it in the chin and take that extra step up to the pisser.
Yeah.
And just pee in the toilet.
Yeah.
Because you start having like the little driblet that goes right in front of the toilet.
Yeah. And
then the next guy doesn't want to step in that.
Yep.
So then he takes a step back and his little driblet, before you know it, you got like a driblet pile to the middle of the bathroom. And I'm like trying to piss, next to the toilet stall. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, listen, man,
etiquette.
just get a couple paper towels if you're that worried about it, and just piss. It's going to spray, but you're going to wash your arms and your hands and stuff, and you'll be fine.
Yes.
Stop pissing on the floor at the truck stops. I hate it.
And I'm not going to offer any solution. I'm just going to tag on to the complaint here, because this is a pet peeve for me.
Oh, that's it.
Because I make a fucking effort to clean up after my fucking self, and I'm tired of grown men leaving a goddamn mess that I have to look at.
Right.
Because look, my woman cannot use public restrooms.
No.
Justifiably so.
Right.
Turns out grown ass women are out there making a fucking mess too.
Wow.
But just be aware, we share space, and you're a grown ass man, and if you can't hit the mark, clean up your mess. I get it. Maybe you're not working with a handful, or whatever the case is.
Right. Just take the extra step closer.
Common courtesy, man. I just don't understand. I don't understand that you don't flush. You can use your foot. Right. If you don't want to touch the pedal, use your foot
all the time.
Absolutely. Yes. Anytime I can justify that.
No matter how fat I get.
Exactly. Or how high the fucking lever is. I'll karate kick that bitch. You know what I mean? Yeah. I try not to get stuck with my fat leg.
I'm actually pretty good at not touching one surface with my direct palms in a complete bathroom.
Yeah, but the last straw is the door on the way out. You use the paper towel to open.
But when they don't have a trash can there for you, and you got to stick that thing in your pocket and carry it with you.
Right, yeah.
That's annoying.
Well, it also, the owners of these bathrooms need to put an effort in. I love when I go to a gas station or a pit stop of some sort, and it's a nice bathroom. It's a nice experience.
Yeah.
Those people deserve.
Pilot tries to do it.
Yeah,
Pilot tries. They do it.
Some of them,
Some
sure.
of them, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You hit that on the money. Come on, man.
Right.
Seriously. if there's any fraternizing here,
right.
We're gonna beat your ass if you piss on the fucking seat, or the floor.
It's ridiculous, man. Like, just take a step closer, and it will all be good. Another one gets me is bowling alleys. Now, this is kind of going off on a tangent a little bit. But, they serve food at bowling alleys, and you, stick your fingers in these balls.
True. This
is
true.
And they eat.
I don't think about
directly with their hands.
Yeah, and then stick their finger
how many generations of people, nasty human beings.
That's why you need your own ball.
That's why you need your own ball.
This is another reason to get your own bowling ball.
Yeah.
It's not that you're on the league.
At least your own gunk is in there.
Yeah. Or you can clean it.
Yeah. So every guy out there or gal out there that's trying to justify buying a bowling ball, there you go.
There's your reason.
Yeah. It's pretty valid too.
Absolutely. Or
nachos are mandatory, at least fries.
Yeah. Or bowling alleys should buy the same handy wipes that are in grocery stores
Uh-huh.
to clean out
The inside of the
said
holes.
holes. Yeah.
Or they can just make finger condoms.
Yeah, but then it changes your grip, and then it's a whole strategy issue.
Do you use lambskin, lubricant?
Right, yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and then
yeah.
are they reusable finger condoms? Yeah, that's
it's a different thing.
a whole different problem.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, I still want to ask you some things.
Okay, go ahead.
But for the sake of ending
Okay.
this one, and just to maybe pay you a compliment,
Okay.
I've already said this before,
Uh-huh.
but there are a handful of people in the world that, whether you're here physically or not,
Right.
I take you with me. And you're certainly one of those people.
For sure.
I think it's so epic and amazing that we met in Lakenheath, England, as young men,
Right.
very, adventurous young men.
Mm.
And we go on about our business. You happen to join the army,
Right.
go to Iraq.
Right.
I joined California and got to be a dad and
Right.
and went through life as it was, and here we are in my dining room at my house.
Right.
Years later, since 2002, you said 2001. 18 years.
18 years.
Almost 19 years later.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty phenomenal.
So I love you, and I'm we're going to do this again.
Yeah, and I love you too, man.
By the way, we talked about doing this
years ago.
Years ago.
Yeah. So I chuckled and I kind of teared up a little bit when you asked me to do it because, you talk about this type of stuff with your friends all the time and you just never do it, And I know it's not as funny as we thought, it might have been or whatever, you know what I mean? But like it's, you did it, man. You made it happen. And I've always admired you when I was over there eating the lumpia. It was just like, I'm back with Big Mike eating some of Miss Linda's lumpia. Full circle has happened.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just an amazing thing. And definitely, I totally relate to what you're saying about there's just certain people that I carry with me. You've always been there.
Yeah.
Every step of the way. And it's like every time I'm with you, we haven't been apart. And that's what I love about you. And it's genuine. Yeah. So I really appreciate that from you as well, man.
Awesome.
Yeah. And you're a dope dad. I really look up to you as a father.
Thanks, man.
For sure.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, just hope to be half the dad you are.
I think you're doing fine. I'm pretty sure if I ask, I'm pretty sure if I don't see you with your kids and, you're not a social media kind of guy.
No.
And so I don't witness, you may have seen my, dadding on social media, but I'm sure if I asked your kids how they felt about you, they'd tell me how much they loved you and adore you.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Cool, man.
Okay.
All right.
So, and I'll do whatever with the post stuff, but which one do you want to talk about first? I want to ask you about the Army stuff.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask you about the other battle that you...
Okay, just go with the Army stuff first.
Army stuff first?
Yeah.
Save the best for last?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay. So you joined the Army in 2004.
2004.
At the age of?
18.
18.
Yeah.
You joined the Army.
Yeah.
And you got into transportation.
Yeah, logistics, transportation.
From the get-go, or did...
From the jump.
Really?
When I went to basic, I had, when I went to not AIT, the recruiter, sorry, I had to go to Germany. And, I had to hitchhike to Germany. I was broke. Wow. I tried to open up a clothing store. And I had a house full of cash registers, mannequins, displays, the whole clothes, jewelry, little knickknacks, the little roller stuff and little earrings and, nose jewelry and stuff like that. And had a couple big orders for clothes and shoes in. And the place were in Brandon, England. Mm-hmm. The owners lived in New York and they just decided to sell to a different, let the property go to a different person after I had already won the contract. So I was kind of bitter, didn't know what to do. And so I hitchhiked to Germany, and because there was no Army recruiter in England. And
Interesting.
That's where I joined the military.
Even on the military base, there was no recruiter.
Even on not an Army recruiter on the Air Force base, no. So you had to go to Germany. So I had to figure out how to get over there.
Wow.
And blessing enough, Ryanair is fairly cheap.
Yeah.
So you just get to the little airport there in Frankfurt Hahn and wait around enough until you see somebody military and say, hey, can you give me a ride to some military installation? And then once you get to a military installation, you can just wait at a bus stop and it'll at least go to the next base over, and you just kind of leapfrog your way to the base you need to get to,
Yeah.
So, it took me about 2 days, but we got there.
And so you met up with a recruiter
Yes.
in Germany.
In Germany, yeah.
And they accepted you into the Army. You signed all the documents.
Uh-huh.
And they asked you what profession within the Army you wanted to be, and you said transportation.
I really just said anything that has the shortest AIT, because at the time I also had my girlfriend at the time. Well, not my girlfriend, but my ex-girlfriend at the time was pregnant.
Yeah.
So I needed to figure out something to do to, take care of a child.
Sure. And what is AIT?
AIT is kind of like, so you go to basic.
What does it stand for?
Advanced something training.
Okay.
I don't remember what the I is for, but
okay.
It is what it does is, like, basic training is everybody's a soldier, right? So you go become a soldier first, then you need to go find your trade. So your AIT is basically like your trade school. So you're going to go to be a nurse, you go to nursing school, vice versa, everything. Right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So logistics was 6 weeks. So I'm looking at the whole gamut of basic training and AIT.
Yeah.
I can be at a duty station in 4 months.
Yeah.
And that was my goal.
Okay.
Right. To be.
Right. So there was a strategy behind what you picked. And okay. And was your plan to stay in the Army? Was your plan to just get to a certain point? Like, what was there a plan?
My plan was to get educated and then possibly go into a different career field once I got a degree, and I would just transition out of the Army. But after I got in, it was kind of weird. I kind of felt like the Army was beneath me when I first got in. Not because I felt like I was better than anybody, but just that my way of thinking as a human being was just a lot different from people. And to be beat down that way, to have to give your freedom in your life. You have no constitutional rights. That's half of your ploy when you raise your right hand, is to say, I'm no longer a U.S. citizen.
You're property of.
I'm property of the federal government.
Yeah.
And that was kind of crazy to me. But
sure.
I know this is what I needed to do to be able to provide for a son in England, right?
Yeah.
And still be able to take care of myself. So, after I got past that, I did become a lifer. After my first deployment, to just see the power and to deal with all those things, like, I sold in. And once I sold in, being in the military was easy for me. It was like breathing.
So you went to training, AIT. Mm-hmm. You're now eligible to be shipped off to your first base.
Right.
What was your first base?
Fort Hood, Texas.
Texas.
Fort Hood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Texas is that?
Killeen. So it's about 45 minutes from Austin, about 4 hours from Houston.
Okay. So there's some major metropolitan city next to you. You're not, I don't know what Fort Hood is like.
Fort Hood is kind of rough. It's the hood of the Army.
Wow.
It's like I want to say it's the second largest military installation. Like, I think when I was there, it was, I'm going to throw a crazy number out of there, but I think I might not even be close. It was close to like 65, 70,000 soldiers.
Oh, wow.
So plus their family members, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was multiple divisions
it's a
there.
Big community.
So it's huge.
Yeah.
And it's hood. Like, it's really, Fort Hood is hood. So it was like weird to me to be like joining the military and kind of going back to
thug life.
Essentially. Yeah. I mean, it was don't get me wrong, it was still the military.
Right.
Right. But
there's a hierarchy.
But at the same time, it was still very kind of like thuggish, just because it was so many people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that identity of still need the flashy car and all that was still there. And I was just like, wow,
Why the Army instead of the Air Force?
I just watched my dad deal with institutionalized, again, racism. You have to think, look how many black commanders you've seen being a military Air Force brat. Mm-hmm. How many black E9's chiefs you've seen. Maybe you didn't pay attention to that type of thing, but I can tell you from my personal experience, I watched my dad study books stacked higher, 4 foot high in a corner, to take their yearly exams to test for the next rank, and him miss it by not even a full point, fraction of a point,
Yeah.
Devastating.
Yeah.
To get poor ratings that didn't necessarily make sense,
Sure.
Devastating. I knew my dad was never home. He worked his butt off.
Yeah.
If anybody deserved to make it, it was my dad, but he clearly didn't.
Right.
And I would see his friends of other races make it.
Yeah.
I just didn't like that. In the Army, is really, on the enlisted side especially, it's a free game. Really.
Is it?
Yeah. It's not a
very different then. So
very different.
So the gamble
sometimes you get into situations where most of your leadership is one race, but in theory, in 80%, 85% of the time, you're gonna have at least a black commander or Hispanic first sergeant or a white platoon sergeant with you know what I'm saying, with a female commander. It's
diverse, more
diverse.
Yeah.
Right. It's a little bit easier to navigate.
And that proved to be true. And you anticipated that outcome.
I anticipated that from the get.
And it was true.
Did
you learn that through any research, or was that just something you were kind of gambling on?
I just knew that the Army promoted from boards and promotion points that you go get yourself. Right? So it's my work.
Yeah. Not
my evaluation. And me taking the tests that change yearly. Right? So the test scores need to be... 1 year might need to be 140. The next year, everybody might test low, so it might only need to be a 110.
Yeah.
But I still got a 109.5. I'm still not going to make cutoff.
Yeah.
But the year before, I got 150s. Do you kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah, sort of.
I don't want to deal with that. In the Army, the promotion points is 798. So pretty much once you get over 750, you're going to get promoted every time.
Yeah.
So that's your goal.
Yeah.
You don't think about kissing this person's butt or doing that or doing this.
Yeah. So there's much more politics in the Air Force.
In the Air Force, right.
But everybody what about the Marines or the Navy?
The Navy process I don't really know about. I would predict it's more like the Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah, where there's
white commanders and
when it comes to that, I still think it's a little bit more well mixed. The Air Force is a white man's game. I'm just gonna put it out there. Right? All right. The rest of the branches, you pretty much a well mixed. But the Coast Guard, the Air Force, that's a white man's game.
Wow.
Now on the commission side, the commanders across the board you'll see more white commanders than you do blacks. That's just, I think out of my whole career, I might have seen 3 black officers that had any type of command power.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a rarity.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And did you ever want to cross-train into commission?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to commission.
Okay.
Once I was committed, I wanted to commission. That was one small portion of my life where I was thinking about getting into the ministry. I wanted to become a chaplain.
Oh, okay.
But becoming a chaplain is very hard. It's not an easy thing.
In what way?
Just difficult. They go through a lot of training. Almost like 2 years of training. Because you don't just learn. You have to be, I want to say certified, if you will. And if you want to be Baptist, you have to be certified as a Baptist minister and all that. But then you also have to be trained in pretty much every major religion in the world to be able to help them. So when you're deployed, if you have a Buddhist person, you know how to help them set up their, I don't want to say ritual area or a place for them to pray, right? You got to know how to set up a temple, a mosque. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they're Catholic, you need to know that a bowl needs to be at the door, right? You have to study all these religions and understand how they work so that people can practice their religion.
Right.
So you're not really there for yourself to, so you can be a Christian all day. You're not really there for Christians. You're there for religion, right? And I talked to a lot of people and they say it's challenging. They said it's one of the most challenging things that they've ever done because it challenges your faith because you learn so much about every religion. It kind of makes you go, is my religion really the one?
That's very appealing though to get an education in religious study.
Right.
For the sake of getting a job to support every
religion,
strand of religion.
Right.
I didn't really ever think of it that way.
Right.
In fact, I always thought that it's sort of an easy career choice.
If you are not deployed, it can be an easy thing because most places where soldiers will be or airmen will be or military people will be, there will be a mosque. So if a dude's Muslim, he's just going to go to his mosque.
Yeah.
When you're deployed, I'm sorry.
No telling.
Yeah, you can't. He can be Muslim all day, but he can't go down the street in Mosul and pray with the rest of the Muslims, right? So you have to provide a place where this dude can, pray and point the appropriate way to Mecca. And like you have to know these things, right? And it's just due diligence and respect. Yeah.
I have a newfound respect for that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So you were going to possibly do that. And at what point in the career was that where you were kind of heading in that direction?
Towards the end of my career.
How many years in?
About 7.
7 years in.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to, like I said, I was a lifer, but I had multiple surgeries. About every 6 months, I was getting a hip surgery and like having to relearn how to strengthen muscles to be able to walk. And like they just came to me and was like, "Look, man, there's no way for us to permanently fix you. Even if you were an amputee, we could cut your leg off and then give you, a prosthetic, and you could relearn how to do it once and be good. Like, we're just going to keep fixing you, and you're going to keep re-hurting it because there's no way to." Once ligaments are overstretched, they don't. A tendon can be repaired, but a ligament can't.
Mm-hmm.
So once it's overworked, it's overworked. So most of my joints are like sloshy. They're not properly structured. They're not sound. Right. So then, it's just a bad situation. So they're like, "Look, man, you can keep getting reconstructive surgery every 6 to 18 months. Where we pull your leg out of socket, reconstruct, pop it back in, and then you got to go relearn how to, do your thing.
Rehabilitate every time.
And every time it took like 4 months.
Yeah.
Or, you can take this little piece of change and go enjoy your life, So around that time is when I was trying to do the chaplain thing. I wanted to be commissioned just because I wanted to make real money.
Yeah.
Enlisted, they do good, but you don't. I found the W-2 the other day. Without my extra benefits, housing and stuff like that, I was making like 36 grand. You don't make a bunch of money.
Ain't shit.
No, not really. I mean, when they provide you a house and the 36 grand just comes into kind of like just buy groceries and survive off of. Yeah, okay,
sure.
That's a little bit. But if we're talking about in the essence of what somebody in my equivalent job in the civilian world was doing. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was seventh year in. At what point did you get deployed to Iraq?
Basically like my first year in the military.
So not even a year in.
It's all kind of blurry, but
sure.
Yeah, you kind of just get lost. I went in 06, came back in 07, but it's yeah.
So when you found out you were going to go to Iraq, how was that? Surreal? Was that scary? What did that?
Kind of prepared from day one. Your drill sergeants always yell at you like, "Hey, it's 10 people standing here for you. You're gonna die in Iraq. Deal with it. Now jump off of this or deal with it. Go eat." You know what I mean? So you get ingrained with it.
They prepare you mentally.
Yeah.
For that outcome.
Yeah.
And then when you got to Iraq.
Weird. And it was so weird. It made me realize how systematic our world really is. We left Kuwait. Somebody didn't do the right thing. They didn't order the right stuff. Some new policies came down. So essentially every truck only had like 300 rounds. Less than that. I think we had a magazine of like 10 rounds per person inside the truck. And I think the gunner had like 200 rounds.
Which is nothing.
Nothing.
In a firefight.
Nothing.
You're going to run
You're
out
talking
quickly.
about 3 minutes of work.
Yeah.
10 rounds in
right.
that's 10, that's,
you're not going to hit 10
20
people.
seconds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the gunner, with 200 rounds, if he spread it out with a couple of gunners, he could have got a good 3 minutes out of it if he's a good gunner.
Yeah.
But y'all gonna leave this gate and you gonna march, 3/4 of the way through Iraq with that. And that's what it was. And that's what we did. And if I was to tell somebody that, they would say I'd be absolutely crazy. But
so that news to you and your platoon of finding out that you had such limited ammunition and then having to...
And it might have been a little bit more than 10 rounds, but I know it was very small. I can't go all the way back to that one particular mission. But
in essence, you didn't have as much as you should have.
Right. Out of representing my argument and what I'm saying now, my point of view. Very limited.
Obviously, you felt
very small, very inadequate.
Yeah,
right. We're supposed to be the big baddest army in the world,
yeah.
which we are.
Sure.
Truly, we are.
Yeah.
But even us, we can't get it together enough to send people into combat for their first time with the appropriate ammunition.
And you said march, so you guys literally marched through some of the territory?
When we say march, we drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what vehicle or what position in the convoy?
So when I first got there, I was a lieutenant. I was a commander's driver. I don't really know to this day why they did it. I would like to think because I was a little bit more savvy than a lot of my counterparts in certain ways. Mm-hmm. And I had good customer service. I've always worked. Even through high school, I worked full time. I mean, I worked at the cafe with you guys full time and still was in school, right? So I just had a good work-life balance, which plays in well with commanders because you need to be able to go party and have your fun. But a commander's truck need to be ready on Monday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was a commander's driver. So we kind of bounced around a lot. But back then, we were still identifying commander's trucks with flags and stupid tactics, man. Put a big green flag so the enemy knows what truck the boss is riding in. Like, you know what I mean? Like back in the day, it'd be like Napoleon always wearing, have the white horse and everybody else's horse is black. I wonder who Napoleon is, right? Like, it's not.
Why wouldn't
so
that,
stupid, man. It's so stupid.
That sounds universally understood as stupid.
No, not then.
But there would be no change to it? You just prop that flag up there?
It was like that, through basic and my first deployment. And then about my second deployment, it was like, nah, we ain't doing this no more.
How long was the first deployment?
In total, like 14 months. And my second deployment in total was like 22.
Okay, so you were there for a little over a year the first time.
Yeah.
And how often did your convoy move throughout that 14 months?
Oh, man.
And what were you doing during that transportation? What were you...
It's kind of a nonstop thing, man. Like, I would say at least minimum 4 to 5 days a week you're gone out the wire, meaning you're not, in a camp. You're out like physically driving through the country somewhere. Yeah. Through
a very vicious territory.
Yeah. And some places were worse than others. No, all of them aren't like bad. I mean, nowhere you were safe, but
right.
Some were worse than others.
So would it sometimes feel like you're literally driving down a normal street in America, but you're in a war zone?
Never.
You always knew you were in Iraq.
Yeah, we drive in the middle of the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
well, what I mean is sometimes.
Okay, so there's certain places, like Kurdistan, which is a small country. Well, it's Iraq, but it's a different territory. They kind of like run themselves. And it's a small ribbon of people right before Turkey and Iraq. And when you get to Kurdistan, literally you pull over to the side of the road, you unload all your weapons. You don't take them down, but you unload all your weapons. Some people even take off their vests, protective equipment, keep on your helmet or whatever. And you just drive the rest of the way to Turkey. And literally, it's not even like a big border. It's like a raggedy piece of tin that goes over the highway. And when you drive through that, you're now in Kurdistan, which is a territory of Iraq. It'd be like going to Puerto Rico. It's not part of the country per se, but they're not their own people. Mm-hmm. They're like our territory. Right. Man, and Lexuses, Escalades, brand new Jettas, well-paved roads, soccer pitches on top of, skyscrapers, Pizza Huts, little bars outside. I don't know if it's alcohol in these slushies, but these people look to be having a really good time. Surreal, right?
Yeah.
Get to Kuwait, Turkey, do your thing, download your stuff, pick up the next shipments of Coca-Cola that's going into Iraq. And when you go back to those days, we pull over on the side of the road, load back up the weapons, and, sometimes we'll make it an hour, sometimes we'll make it 15 minutes, and it'll be a bomb on the side of the road. But literally, just on the other side of
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was getting at. Is there a sense of normality in terms of driving through a street? Like if you're driving down the street here,
right? Because
I think that's the part that we don't appreciate is that, it's war in a Middle Eastern country, but it's just Earth. It's just another civilization across the pond that has the same stuff that we do. Burger King, Pizza Hut, regular cars.
Only that little place there felt like that. The rest of Iraq definitely feels like Iraq.
Yeah.
It's a weird place.
So that must help in some sense and
I'm sure it's other places like this too, like Africa and, places in Africa. I mean, it's really like you need security guards. The roads are bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're praying to God that you don't have corrupt cops at checkpoints that's going to kidnap you and hold you for ransom. You know, I mean, like it's that place, Right. It is what you think is on TV. Now, I can say the people are not those people that we really feel are like, infidels and, well, not infidels, but terrorists. And, some of the most beautiful kids I've ever seen in my life were Iraqi kids, man. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Because they're really like the cross between, races.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have people that look white, and you have people that look black.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, but they're all from the same place in the world, right? It's kind of like, well, maybe this is where we divided at. It's very, you know what I mean? You'll see a very dark-skinned person walking down the street with a very light-skinned person with brown hair like you got, but jet blue eyes.
Yeah.
And they're cousins. You know what I'm saying? And then I would have, we would pass certain places, and it was universities, and you would see the college kids coming out of college, and they acted like college kids. They had walks and swagger like a college kid would. You know what I mean? And you could see a young lady with her skirt on and stuff like that, and she was trying to make her hair look extra cute that day. Maybe it was a guy. You could see these in these people, right? Like, so the people are just like us.
Right.
Absolutely. No different. Yeah. I remember having a very vivid story with a when he wasn't young, but he was a professor at Baghdad University, and he spoke to me once, and we spoke a lot, but he spoke to me once about this one particular thing, and they were having power issues, a lot of power outages. He was very upset, and he was like, Saddam was like a wall, If you didn't go to the wall and smack the wall the wall wouldn't hurt you. If you went to the wall and you punched the wall, you probably were going to hurt your hand. Right? Mm-hmm. He was just a figure that was there. Right? Just about a border, right? Like, he wasn't out to hurt a whole bunch of people, you know what I mean? Of course, he did some pretty vicious things, but it was reasoning behind him being vicious, not protecting Saddam or whatever. I don't know his full story, right? But, you know, he also said when Saddam was in power, I was a professor at a university and I made a real wage. And my grandmother had electricity 24 hours a day. You know, now my grandmother is in her 90s and she gets electricity 2 hours a day, 2 days a week. When you put it into that perspective, did we really liberate these people?
Right.
There were whole cities of Christians in a mostly Muslim country, right? You see videos of Saddam promoting female education, he was very liberal towards females. A lot of people don't know that. Female health was a big issue for him. A lot of people don't know that, right? So, yes, he was a dictator. Yes, he probably didn't do the best things in the world all the time. I think his sons were some issues. They were some real pieces of work. Mm-hmm. But as far as him personally, you know, and the people there personally, I don't think we did the best for them. You know,
right.
I really don't feel like that's what happened in that situation.
Yeah.
So that country has never been stable since we went there, and it probably never will be. Is that what we really wanted?
Yeah.
You know, and you look at colonialism, you look at what people get angry with about white people about. Well, in my lifetime, that's exactly what we went somewhere and did.
Yeah.
Took a stable place and made it unstable.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
So.
And a lot of soldiers felt the way you did, or had the same experience.
It's horrible. I mean, I can't even, you know, you can't even look at the news because you hear Mosul this and Mosul that. And for me, that's a personal pet peeve, man. I've seen a lot of people die from Mosul. And it meant nothing because it's ISIS territory. And they destroyed it. You know, They destroyed it. And if you want to talk on a more personal basis, on a religious basis, I mean, this is where Christianity, I mean, this is where Jesus walked, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about the Bible, Iraq is Babylon, man.
Right, yeah.
You're in a holy place.
Yeah.
So to have your friends die on holy land in a holy place, and then just for, you know, a terrorist group to come in and fantasize, you know, their terrorist beliefs and burn Americans alive in cages and publicize it on TV, and we just basically let them have it. You know, what did we fight years for this territory for to just give it back to them? I mean, we still occupy Germany today. World War II ended in 1945, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We still occupy Germany today.
Yeah.
We still occupy Japan today. We still occupy South Korea today.
How much of that placates towards America being a superpower? Is it just a show of muscle? Is it just to linger in case we see opportunity?
I think we used to really try to fight for democracy and the freedom of the people of the world. I think we used to really stand for that.
At what point did that change?
Now this is just a corporate thing. Because we went over there for oil. They can say what they wanted to say, but it was an opportunity for us to shuffle the deck, break up the power with the big oil, cause some chaos, and then we end up becoming a nation that's solely technology. Funny thing about life, we do get more technically advanced, and we realize there's more oil that's right here. And natural gas is right here, and we're independent. So we don't even import oil from that region of the world anymore. But
so let's just ignore that.
We already did our dirt
situation,
and we don't even need it.
Wow!
Right,
and that must make
so we hindered all those people literally for nothing.
Yeah, people lost lives.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I lost count of like 178 one day on a convoy, and it was.
Say that again. You lost.
I lost count at 178 tankers.
Okay.
And I'll never forget them. They were green and orange, or orange red, like if this, like an orange red color tanker with big green, white Arabic writing on them. And they had Chevy Tahoes.
Sorry, hold on one second. Hi, Sergio. This is my friend Keith.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, no problem. Take your time. Hold that thought,
Okay.
because I'm in Iraq right now.
Okay.
The last time that it even came up, it was like you were. I think you had just came from Alaska. You just moved over here.
Yeah.
And you were still dealing with, probably to this day, still dealing with some.
Well, I think the first time you see me in the military, I was actually coming here to have my first surgery, pelvic surgery.
Right.
Yeah, and they took 2 inches of my manhood.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
Yeah, in San Francisco.
But I thought that was for the Gemma thing.
That was a part of it. But I did have an injury that later kind of sealed the deal on that, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, we'll elaborate on that a little later. But
yeah.
You've been through so much more than I can even wrap my head around. So I know our interactions are usually pretty lighthearted.
Right.
Tomfoolery.
Yeah.
Talking about being guys in the world and all that stuff.
Which is healthy for me.
And I'm down with that. But like I said, if anything's off limits, let me know, because otherwise I like to know your background. And because what'll happen is that when you leave site, you go back to Merced or whatever,
right,
I'll process all that,
right,
and then you become the new Keith in my mind.
Right.
Not a bad thing.
Right.
A good thing.
Right.
But it gives me perspective, and ultimately, because you joined the military,
right,
and had these experiences, and I was safe over here in civilian world,
right,
because of people like you in the military.
Right.
At least that's the story I'm supposed to say, right?
That's what they want you to believe,
right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is that there's a point in time where I too could have gone military and had that experience, but I never did. So it's like, what's up? Oh no, I'm good. Do you want some more?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm good right now. I got to pick up Declan in a little while, so I don't want to show up all Cabernet. Yeah, so there's that part of life where I didn't go and put that stamp on my man card, yet you did. I think that had a lot to do with me looking into law enforcement too, was that I kind of wanted to have some extreme experience so that I could feel alive, so to speak.
You know what it does, man, and I'm going to be honest with you. It makes it easier for you whenever you do these so-called macho jobs. It makes it easier for you to look honorable in society's eyes. It's easy work, right? You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. You just say, I'm a cop, and people already get this perspective of you.
To some degree, yeah.
Yeah. And it just makes it easy.
Yeah.
And that's purely, most of the time, that's what I seek from that type of thing.
Yeah, status, yeah.
Again, fighting this thing on, not having to prove that I'm a good guy, that I'm not a thug, that I'm not, or a sellout, right?
Yeah.
I'm just a black guy and I'm a cop. I'm just a black guy and I'm a firefighter. I'm just a black guy. I'm in the military. I'm a soldier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think a lot of guys identify it in the same way.
Yeah,
you know what
true.
I mean? Like, I don't have to prove that I'm macho. Like, I'm a cop, right?
This is true.
Cops deal with stupid stuff.
Yeah, because everybody knows there's a certain
what
number
comes
of
with the
things
territory.
Yeah.
So you can I don't have to do all this explaining.
Oh, he's got it. Yeah.
He's a cop. Go ahead.
He'll protect us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay, so go. Let me answer this. My
ahead.
boss. Hello.
Hey, buddy, Terry.
Hey, Terry. What's up?
Hey, man. Hey, Rini needs to get a hold of you about your insurance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she wants to get something on going on your insurance, so you're covered for our insurance.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll give her a call here very soon. I'm kind of in the middle of something, but I'll give her a call back.
No worries. And then I got your
Awesome. Thank you so much, Terry. I appreciate it.
Pins on the email or the text message.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks again.
Have a good day, Mike.
You too, Terry. Thanks. Bye. He's called me like 3 times. It's my boss.
No, it's good. He's a good boss.
You good boss. You good boss, man.
Man, I'm gonna give it to you from the other perspective, man. You got to stay on top of it, because if you don't, the little things is what screws you.
On top of what?
Anything.
Oh, okay.
When you the man,
When you're running business?
when you run the business,
Yeah. Sure.
you
Yeah.
can't-
Well, to break away a little bit from our
yeah,
our conversation, I don't know how much you know or how much I've told you, but I was working at General Produce, delivering produce.
right.
Driving to Tahoe 3 days a week, and
Yeah.
then everywhere else besides those days. Every other week I was working 6 days, and so I was getting burned out. Every Friday before the Saturday I had to work, I was done. It's 2:00 in the morning, getting up, no sleep, I'm dying, literally dying.
Right.
And same with her. She wasn't getting any sleep. She's getting up when I get up. She wants to make sure I'm okay and have everything. And then when I get on the road, she
She's
worries
worried.
about me, you know. So I pray to God. She prays to God. I'm at my wit's end about what am I going to do here. And I have no creative outlet. I'm not
Right.
doing any acting. I'm not
Right.
doing any art form
Right,
of anything.
right.
And that's a big part of what I want for myself.
Right.
I put my resume on Indeed long ago and just kept it there. It was even before I got the job at the produce company. And then one day I'm coming home from my route and I get a call. I missed the call and they left a message, and it was this company I'm with now telling me, hey, I need a driver in Sacramento. We're based out of Monterey. Give me a call if you're interested. I'm like, okay, we'll see. And I call him and he's like, Tuesday through Friday, we'll start you at $20 an hour. I was making 17 and some change over at the produce company, working forever. And they're like, yeah, we'll give you $20 an hour. Come out and meet us if you can this weekend. Otherwise, we don't know if we can hold the job. I need a driver. So I go out there. I meet them. We fall in love with each other. They're like, you're hired. Fuck it. We'll give you 21 an hour. Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. I'm like, oh. And to me, like, that's new currency is like, oh, I can do a podcast.
Yeah.
And so I was excited. They were excited. And then we find out that my license has an automatic restriction on it. So I have to retest. They wait with me. They give me time. They're like, all right, go get your restriction removed. So I go to the DMV. I failed twice. So I'm doing a month of training, working with somebody else who's driving all the way to Monterey, from Monterey to here to do the route. And so finally I passed, and this is the second week, the end of the second week.
So what, you got a 13 speed?
No, it's that truck out there. It's a little 6-speed.
Oh, it's a 6-speed.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So, but it's, B class, 6-speed.
Yeah.
I'm good to go.
Okay.
Yeah. And eventually I'll get the tanker endorsement
Yeah. Tank it up.
so I can help you out. But but I can drive 6-speed now.
No, I'm really excited about that, man. I'm hoping to have a good year this year, and still some hope. Get a good year this year. The plan is to just pay off these the trucks I have now, and then I got an engine lined up. And once you get into the engine work, man, it's that's what I try to do, Mike. I try to put myself in a position for my kids to be like, my dad owned a fire company. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't, he made himself a fire chief. You know? Just don't take nobody's crap, man. Go do it.
It's an entrepreneur's mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to.
So
you're going to land. At some point,
somewhere.
you're going to land. You're doing fine.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to take any of that away, because every entrepreneur has a story of leading up to their success.
Right.
And it's not fun all the time. It's not a pretty picture a lot of the time. It's painful.
And to be honest with you, as much as I hurt, man, it feels good.
Good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's real.
Yes.
When you look at the contracts and they gonna pay you for one truck, $2,900.
Yeah.
Like I said, I turned down a month of work in Alaska.
Yeah.
And that was $168,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you start seeing those numbers, you go, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Okay, 2 trucks, $168K, 4 people.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of overhead. And
right.
That's some good cash flow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, keep on trucking, as they say. You'll be on top of a mountain at some point.
Yeah.
Without having to chop a tree down.
Well, and that's what I don't want to do. But I also want to provide opportunities for my friends, man.
Sure.
The people that's dear to me, you know, to say, hey, man, just come live out your last days of work doing this.
What's your company's name?
Retire. So my fire company is Fire Support Unlimited.
This podcast is brought to you by Support Unlimited. If you have a fire that you need to put out and the state just won't do it for you.
Just won't do it.
Supply Unlimited?
It's Fire Support Unlimited.
Fire Support Unlimited.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But and then the second company is FEMA Logistics Support.
FEMA Logistics.
FEMA. So my tool that I use is Trojan horse. All right. So when you see my trucks go down the road, they look like a fire agency.
That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah, I like it.
So I'm doing hot shotting. Now I could just be like, oh, Keith Curry's Express. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, but when my trucks go down the road, they look like FEMA trucks.
Yeah, I like it.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Trojan horse, man. Just it helps. It seems more cornier, but it's a practical use to it. You know what I mean?
There is a strategy.
It's putting your pride to the side. Mm-hmm. Take Keith's big booty truckers off the side of the truck.
Yeah.
Put something that looks.
I would like to see the big booty truckers. If you do indulge at some point.
Yeah, and when we pull up, it's rowdy go. Rowdy go. Scrub.
Got it, ball. Let me see. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But no, it's a method to the madness, and I think that resonates with people that really do big business. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, listen.
Yeah.
In the Trump administration,
right. Trump
flamboyance is going to get you somewhere.
Right.
That's the culture we're in.
Right.
Be loud.
Be loud.
Be expressive.
Right.
Because it's gonna do something.
Right. Right.
And yes, controversy is always gonna be there, but we're awakened. Listen, I know we looked at a bleak future.
Right.
But I don't always see it that way.
Uh-huh.
I think there's some promising things happening. I think emotionally and spiritually, this country, this nation, this world is waking up. We're waking up to expression and how important it is to feel free. I think the part that got Trump to where he is where people got tired of the same manipulative propaganda through every election.
Right.
And when Trump broke through all that and was as flamboyant as the next idiot in the suit.
Trust me, we want something different.
Yeah. And I think that's the important part here is, okay, now we all understand we don't want any more bullshit.
I get that. But we also must respect the system.
And I agree.
If you have a full cabinet.
Yes.
And no one is officially been elected or vindicated.
Yeah.
You're running a dictatorship.
Well, he's also a businessman exploiting loopholes.
Yes.
That's what he's doing.
And
that's what he knows to do.
Exactly.
And in terms of experiencing new ideals, new ideas, new trends, new anything, we like as a civilization, we like to exploit.
But that's a dangerous territory.
And we're going to learn the hard way.
And we are going to learn the hard way.
But we're going to learn. So there may be some casualties along the way. Yes. And it may turn bleak at some point.
Right.
But we, just like cancer, we'll figure out a way to regrow and recalibrate. And
true story, man. My mom just called me this Saturday, man, and shared with me she has lung cancer, and it's trippy, man. It's just like you always hear about people talk about cancer and all this stuff, man. It just really never. She may have smoked once or twice in her life, you know what I mean? But she was never a smoker or anything like that, and lung cancer, like really, like, you can't live without lungs, sir. And I don't know no lung replacement surgeries, So, maybe they organ donor lungs or something. I should look into that, but. Yeah, man, just something else to throw on the plate, right?
I'm very sorry to hear that, first of all.
I think it gives us a reason to be closer. I think it gives me a reason to do the right thing and be a better son. That's really how I look at these situations.
Sure.
And that's why I was so happy to hear, like, your mom's going to be moving here and, at least trying. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? And like
Yes.
it's important, man. And you know, Mike, we're getting older. And the more older I get, the more I realize one day I might need my kid to like help me get out the bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary.
Yes.
You know, are they really gonna come help me out the bathtub, or am I gonna have to rely on the state to send somebody to come
Yep.
help me get out the tub?
I know.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Trust me.
We're gonna get old one day, buddy.
Yeah. And our parents, they, we need each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, again, I'm sorry to hear about your mom. And anytime you need anything, I mean,
I've never dealt with this in my life before directly.
sure. So it's a little surreal.
Yeah, like Tiffany, her mom already had cancer. Her dad passed away at 55. So she's dealt with this death thing in parents, And I feel bad because I don't think I sympathized with her enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was hard on her. Deal with it.
Well, just let her know.
Yeah.
Tell her, this has come full circle. I get it now.
Right.
And for what it's worth, I apologize.
Right.
I mean, that's all you can do. Because, we all do the best we can with what we know.
And I didn't understand it at that point.
For sure.
But now it's clear as crystal. You know what I'm saying? Like, what?
Yeah.
You could watch your mom struggle and, like, lose her hair and, like, eventually lose her life, possibly.
Yeah. Right.
To something that you don't know how to fight is something that's a part of you.
Yeah.
The cancer is like your cells.
Yes.
It's not like some foreign disease or infection. Like, this thing developed inside of you. It's your body thinking it's doing something the right way.
Right.
Right. That's scary. That's trippy.
Yes.
So, yeah, man. But the trucking thing, 178 trucks.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go. Sorry to interrupt that story there,
No,
people.
that's cool.
But because I was in that truck with you for a second. So let's go ahead and go back.
178 trucks, man, and they had. It's the first time I ever seen it in country. We call in country being like in theater in Iraq, right? Boots on ground in country, and it was the first time I ever seen in the country privatized security. Not like Blackwater though. These dudes were like legit, like brand new Tahoe trucks, fully up armored, tires that I didn't even think could fit on a Tahoe truck, which I later on came to find out a Tahoe is the same body frame as a Humvee.
Okay.
From GM. So that's why the tires were able to look the way, they look so like aggressive on an SUV. And they had control turrets. So they had cameras with infrared sensors and like 3D sensor, heat sensors on them, and just a 50 cal. And the guy sat in the back seat of his truck. No gunner sitting out on the top, all like top line stuff, man. I lost count at 178 tankers.
Damn.
Leaving Iraq, headed to Kuwait. 10K tankers. Like, you think, you've seen a big tanker. Like a 10K tanker looks awkward going down the road. It's a lot of oil, right? All brand new trucks, man. All brand new trucks. 178, I lost count. We sat there because some checkpoints go across both sides of the highway. So they were already coming through when we came up. So we stopped and we sat there. We had to wait for them to cut over and then cut back across to their side of the highway and pass. And we got the order to go. We started our march again. And I would say 5 minutes after we passed that checkpoint that they passed through, IED tag. Now how, the truck with 178 tankers make it through. And, probably like 15 other trucks for security make it through. All privatized. And then, military convoy, maybe 20 trucks, we get attacked. It's not by chance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's always been about the oil, brother.
Yeah.
It's always been about the oil.
Wow.
Now, the insurgents were smart enough to know we can attack this oil convoy. Okay. But we really wouldn't see the light of day after that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, no questions asked. You know what I mean? But we can attack these American convoys, these soldiers all day, and it's just war.
It's free target practice.
Free target practice.
Wow.
So, it's always been about the oil, man.
So, can I ask you, and it's okay if you don't want to get into it, but these attacks, how involved were you? What was that experience like?
Being inside of a truck, you're always detached to an extent. As time went by, the technology got better, the armor got better. I was a gunner around this time. That convoy in particular, I was a gunner. But I was young and I was dumb. I remember, like, I would wear these stupid, like, bummer glasses that had the big mirror lenses on them, and I would put the bandana around my face and kick one leg outside the top of the Humvee. And I was a 249 gunner, which is a machine gun, and I would have a 50 cal and like a 240 Bravo. So I got like 3 machine guns,
And you were all roided out too.
Not at that time, but I was a stud.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always, anytime I deployed, I go into straight stud mode.
Yeah.
Very clean diet. I would do an 18, 20-hour mission and still go work out 2 hours in the gym before I would go to sleep, So I just always wanted to be in shape, I always had this thing in my head, and that was a part of my comfort blanket, wanting to have some control over my situation, that, hey, if I got into a situation and it was bad, the better shape that I'm in, the more likely I am to deal with the stresses of my body, missing a leg or bleeding out, right?
Yeah.
So that was just always important to me, that's something that translated into me as a truck driver, as a civilian. Like, I don't drink a bunch of Red Bulls and stuff like that. I stay away from caffeine because guys that drank a lot of caffeine bled out.
Oh, wow.
Your body's not able to clot, right? So you bleed out. So, I keep that energy going on water. My tactic is having to pee.
Right.
Yeah. The feeling of having to pee keeps you awake. But I was always, the most complicated time I had in combat was, as far as troop movements and stuff like that, as being a navigator. When I first got promoted to an NCO rank, a navigator, we basically have like a computer system that sits in front of you, kind of like an oversized GPS, and it has all the different elements on a battlefield. And then, hey, we're going to go from Iskan to Kabbalah, for example. And I would know the known route, but sometimes I would get to a turn, and we can't turn that way because a goat, a dude ran into a donkey and they're in the middle of the road fighting. Well, we can't just sit here.
Yeah.
Right? So as a navigator, I need to figure out how to get us past this and back onto our route, right? So for me, that was that was some stressful stuff, man. Like, literally, convoys of 150 trucks. Each truck has 2 people. That's 300 souls, easy, right? And to be responsible to get you from point A to point B, and turn around 150 trucks, that takes 2-3 hours to do if you make the wrong turn.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like it's just something that happens.
Right.
And insurgents are opportunists. So if you're going through the wrong city, they might not even, it could have been just a couple dudes pissed off. Well, hey, this is this opportunity. We see they can't turn around right here down this little alley. Let's just shoot up a couple dudes, you know what I mean? And run back in our house. They'll never know, right? So it's always this constant threat, and you'll never find those dudes,
Right.
So, because they're not real insurgents. They don't have any real ties to ISIS. They're just pissed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they can still kill a couple soldiers and, go about their lives, right? So, stressful, man. Stressful.
I was under the impression when we first started talking after you had gone through your Army experience that your most stressful factor was dealing with other soldiers under your command going through divorce, going through separations, life issues while deployed?
For sure, on a human level, yeah. I thought we were talking more of just like a actual objective,
Well, yes,
a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you're talking about just an emotional toll, for sure, man. Like personal people, like within my units, I've lost more to suicide than combat, and that's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're talking to somebody on Facebook or it's one individual I have been messaging them for 2 years after their suicide, didn't even know, just wondering why they never replied, and somebody like finally seen the feed. It was like, Curry, they're dead. Stop tripping.
Yeah.
They died like 4 years ago. I'm just like blown away.
Yeah, no kidding. Because they're still running around on the planet, according to your mindset.
Yeah. And it's not a couple people. It's a few people, man. So yeah, it's stressful. That is it does take a big toll on you, man, and you can't do nothing for them, Yeah.
And would you say that was probably the biggest impact on you as far as a veteran?
In the military?
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And right now, I would say that's a plus. I do feel like the military is trying to, overall, VA, the military, I think they are trying to say, look, let's head this problem off before it starts. We sent people to war literally for like 15 years. They're not making people fight a whole lot for their VA benefits. I just think a lot of guys don't know what to do with them in today's society. They don't know what education to go get. They don't know, and it's just enough money to make you think you're okay, but you're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's trippy, man. It's trippy. I think the situation now, the biggest problem for veterans now is the opioid epidemic, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's eating them up,
Right.
because I can call right now to the VA. I can get a prescription of morphine. I can get a prescription of oxycodone, Percocet, and we talking about big prescriptions, 165 pills at 15 milligrams per pill. We ain't talking about, little 30
micro doses.
Yeah. No, we talking about big boy, put you to sleep, make your breathing stop.
Why is that?
Doses.
Why is it so easy and accessible?
Money.
So doctors working at the VA,
they're not making the money. The pharmaceutical companies are making the money for sure.
But there's no intervention in terms of...
They try. Don't get me wrong. They try. It is some point where they say, okay, this dude has a problem. But then at the same time, a lot of guys like myself, we do deal with a lot of pain. I just choose to live with mine.
And specifically emotional pain. Is that what you're...
Both
physical
and emotional. There's some physical pain, man. My body is wrecked, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
from the Army experience?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I have severe ligament damage and arthritis from years of road marching and wearing gear, and that's another reason why I would get in shape. I mean, a full combat load, 210 rounds, full vest. You're talking 80 pounds in extra gear that you just live in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's hard on the body.
Right.
Truck driving is hard on the body. Think of doing truck driving
while wearing 80 pounds of gear.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can't imagine.
No, it's crucial.
I used to punch bags of potatoes because I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. And people don't know how hard it is on your body to like do logistics.
Yeah.
Truck driving, especially.
And in the intense heat.
Yeah, and it's hot.
Yeah.
I mean, we did have trucks with air conditioning and stuff, but not like it needed to be. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It was moments where it was the hottest part of the day, and it was still 90-some degrees in your truck.
Yeah.
It was 115 outside.
Right.
But it's still 90 degrees in your truck.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So Hard, man. Complicated.
And you had an early retirement.
Yeah.
After how many years in?
9.
9 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And they offered you the early retirement based on your surgical
Right.
needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically just because it was just like, hey, you can try to fight to stay in, but,
Not really
not really.
worthwhile.
Right. Go with the process and get the better rating.
And so do you still get the GI Bill for any education you want?
I did. I mean, I went to trade school.
Yeah.
And then I went and got my bachelor's degree. So I got the full ride. I still got like another 2 months of education. And I'll go get my heavy equipment certifications for a crane operator and dozer operator when the time is right for that. So, yeah, I mean, as far as the education side, yeah, I mean, I got my fair share, but a lot of guys just don't even know how to cope to go and do that.
Yeah. Because of the trauma they suffered?
Because of the drugs.
Oh.
Because they high.
Yeah. Yeah.
when you have Percocet all day,
yeah,
it's hard to be focused on going to school.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys don't live in situations where they make enough money to not work and go to school. And they don't understand that they can go and get better VA compensation or feel that they're not worthy of it. Because there is some stigmas with certain branches, especially the Marines, man. Like, those guys are the worst. They will not go get their money. And I just don't understand why. It's like this thing that I'm not hurt. Dude, you crazy. I'm looking at you in your eyes and know you bat booty bone crazy. Go get your money, man.
That macho culture.
That macho culture.
Oh, that's
so they'll live in mental pain.
Yeah.
Frustration, irritation. Then just go get help.
If there was something you would do and could be funded for in terms of offering support to soldiers, veterans, what would you do?
Probably do something dealing with trying to get veterans the true tools they need to be successful in the corporate environment. I think veterans, man, make some of the best CEOs and would be some of the best, presidents of companies and managers of multiple people, because we dealt with situations where in my lowest rank, I still was in charge of like 10 people, right? So you're used to dealing with being in charge of folks, stressful situations. I just think that we lack the civilian perspective that is needed to be successful in those situations to the highest power. So any type of training where a guy could really go and get a true internship to a true leadership position within a corporation would be something that I would fight for. I think, like I said before, I think veterans they just naturally can work in high stress situations. They're good at working with people, and I feel like that would be the most productive, right? Go to this training, get this certification, and you can get an internship at Amazon. You can get an internship at a Starbucks distribution point, right? Manager positions, not leadership. The crap that they give us, where you can go drive a forklift at Lowe's.
They shouldn't have to start at the bottom.
No.
They've earned at least that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
To at least be a manager, not even a supervisor, at least a managerial position.
I'd love to imagine a world where that's a possibility or even a reality.
Right. And I think it would be very positive because, it's dealing with people have this concept that we can't control ourselves and this, that, and the other. But the reality is when you deal with veterans that have been through high, stressful situations, they're happy, right? Your civilian boss, your non-stressed out boss gets tripped out that his reports need to be done on Tuesday and guys don't show up to work on Monday. Your veteran boss is happy he got a job and he ain't getting shot at and can't nobody go make him paint rocks. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Totally different dude to deal with. He still ain't gonna take no crap.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But he's going to be understanding to life, right? And he or she is going to be able to take more stress upon themselves and not put that off on the employees. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're able to put stuff into perspective. What's really important here? What's really the problem here? And when we can't fix it all, we let it go.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Right.
Right?
That is the name of the
That's
game.
the name of the game.
Yeah.
You don't hold on
That's
to
the difference between approachable leaders and non-approachable leaders. Non-approachable leaders tend to put that energy on people in their wake.
Right.
Whereas leaders that you can talk to have learned to let go of certain aspects of what they're in charge of.
Right.
Because what's the point?
What's the point?
You're hanging on to a ghost.
Right.
You can't control it.
Right. And you know, I mean, if it's a big issue, we will slowly figure out a way to deal with that issue. But it's not like we try to deal with it every day, right now, right here.
Right.
Right. Like, guys, look, this is something we just got to deal with. Tony, you got to come in 20 minutes earlier on your shift, man. That's just the answer to the solution right now. Or we could just cause all these other people problems.
Right.
And if you don't want to step up to the plate, I'll find a person that wants to step up to the plate. And guess what, Tony? Your seniority goes out the window. Who's going to get the next promotion? The person that was willing to take that hit.
Yeah.
Right. We just have this natural concept of how all this stuff flows. It's
I
not
like the idea of putting veteran soldiers who have been trained as high stress managers into the corporate world.
Right.
I think that's a really unique position to take on rehabilitation or reintroduction into society.
Because it gives them a purpose.
Absolutely, and I think that's what most of them miss when they leave is the camaraderie, the team effort, the bigger picture that they're a part of.
And I think one other thing is I think you would be harder pressed to find a veteran willing to sell out or do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
On a financial or, you know, corporate type level, right?
Yeah.
Where we kind of play with this red tape, you know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
a veteran is going to do what's best for, first of all, the employee, then the customer, you know, and the company. You kind of get what I'm saying?
I do.
And when you look at it that way, you're not going to get someone that's going to cut those corners just to like make an extra couple bucks to put in their pocket. There's no honor in that.
Right.
I didn't do that.
Right.
I didn't go serve this country to come be a crook.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't serve the bigger picture.
No, it doesn't serve the bigger
Which
picture.
when you're in a high intensity battle like situation, you have to buy into the bigger picture in order to gain the courage to go through with the objective.
Yeah, and and to be honest with you, you know, gunfights can be very long and drawn out, but my line of work was very short, sweet, and to the point. Right, explosions would happen. It might be an ambush of some sort, and we just fight our way out of there. We don't stand behind and count casualties. We don't go kick in the doors and try to figure out where the shots came from. We let the infantry guys go handle that, right? So, my concept of conflict is, and I think that serves me well in a corporate situation because I can walk into a room and we prepared for 2 months to do X, Y, and Z, and then immediately we need to do A, B, and C, and that doesn't bother me at all. Boom, let's go with it. Right?
Yeah.
Just because I'm used to just all of a sudden my whole life can change right here,
plans
right now.
change, yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
And in such a potent way to learn that too, because literal lives are on the line.
Literally.
And I think that's one way that managers or leadership try to implement change in people that they're mentoring. They like boot camp. The drill sergeants come off very intensely because it's an awakening of sorts. It's a way to stimulate you to the point of making a move, taking action.
Right.
I think that's where the PC issues that are out in the corporate world tend to get in the way. And I like that if you take leadership from military veterans, if you put them in those positions, they've already been trained. They already know how to handle, and they can implement those same tactics with some, I don't know, for lack of a better way to put it, some panache. They're able to implement those things into a company.
Right.
Yeah, but we're so far
No,
from
no,
that.
we are.
We're so far
I think
from that.
the biggest quality, man, and not to beat this dead horse, but I think the biggest quality that I feel like America's missing out on its veteran population is that we do have a strong ability to make people love their jobs. We're good at making people enjoy crappy situations. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, I remember one deployment. Our thing was we had this dude that would hook us up with a case of steaks. So whenever we had a hard mission, you know what I'm saying, or something crazy would happen, steak party, you know. And, you know, the goal was to just eat as much steak until your brain couldn't physically think about anything else. Now, that concept might seem stupid, but it's a very practical thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a very, and it works in every type of setting. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
can
hey,
understand.
guys, look, we know this crappy thing is coming up, but every time we do this together, right? Every time we have to do these stupid runs to Tahoe for a month, right? Like, at the end, we know we do this together because it's a brother and a sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
We know we don't do this alone.
Well, that's,
right?
I think.
And you know, everybody comes in, you know, 10 minutes earlier than they normally would to help the next guy come off his shift. Like, we just kind of pick up the pace a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't shy away from the harder work, right? But we do it as a team. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a powerful thing, man.
Yes, I think that's the big missing piece in the corporate world is everybody becomes a number, and it's a lost art in terms of creating camaraderie and teamwork and painting a bigger picture with people.
Right.
There's the old pyramid of hierarchy in terms of who's the priority. Like, goes, you know, customers, employees, then leadership, which is bullshit. It should be employees first.
Employees, customers,
And
the company, then leadership.
Then company, yeah. So there's just this outdated structure of management that needs to be addressed in the world, and that only can be understood from experience. Quite frankly, I didn't know until I went through a leadership experience myself, and then to be trampled on continuously and to be in a thankless position, but still maintain that idea that this is so much bigger than me. This has nothing to do with me. This is about people who are going to be in this position thereafter. Right. What am I going to do to feed that, you know? And I think that woke me up to what leadership really was. Right. Up until that point, I had no idea. I thought it was just a title. I thought being the manager or the supervisor was just a title for you to take more shit. But quite frankly, when you do it right and you buy into the bigger picture, that's much more profound currency or experience that you get out of it than any other understanding of it. Right. When you have something you're working towards, it's not monetary, it's about people, then it's worth the effort. And you somehow get more energy. You somehow can handle more stress because you know it's worth something bigger.
I wish people would just understand everything is about us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When you walk into a company, I don't care what the company is. This company is here for us to make money. The company should be working for us, not us working for the company. Yes, we go to work and we do a job for a function, right? But when the whole machine gets to rolling, we should all make a very good pay. We should all have health care. You know, otherwise this isn't a viable thing. Yeah. And for me, if a company cannot perform that and provide that for its employees, then it's really not a company that's successful. Again, it goes back to this theory of if you're not rich until you can do what you want to do with your kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You're not a successful company until you can pay for your employees to live a good way and have good health care.
And have balance in their lives.
And if you're cutting that away from them just so you can make it a bottom dime and a couple of people can, you know, have a Tesla, you're not a good company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough to find.
It is tough to find.
It is really tough to find. And I think the only way out is to do what you're doing, is create a business for yourself.
You need to, and it's not just the only thing. I would tell people that you need to have a trade, an education, and then just your own personal will to do what you want to do in life, right? And you can fall back on any one of those things when the time comes. You need to have a business. But you also need to have a job.
Yeah.
And you also need to have some form of an investment working in your behalf. Whether it's that your parents passed away and they have some type of life policy, that you got gaining some type of interest, no matter how small it may be. It's kind of a three-faceted thing.
Yeah.
Be invested in the stock market. It's not just go work and get a bill up a 401k and die,
Right.
or live in retirement, collect Social Security and die. That's not how you gain wealth or make wealth. You have to. It's a broad thing. So,
Yeah.
Mike, I very well would work for another company the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problems doing that. As long as they're willing to pay me what I feel like I'm worth.
Yeah.
Because a true leader will set his company up. I like to think of Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock designed his movies and his scripts so well that he would always say, I can walk away and not say action one time and get the same result. I try to do my businesses the same way, right? Get them to a place where they're proficient enough where I don't even have to be there, right?
Yeah.
And that's good leadership.
Yeah.
I just come up to do check and balances, and if the checks and balances are good, hey, you guys get bonuses, and we keep it going.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get as much out of this world as it'll give me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna do fine. I love you, Keith.
Love you too, man.
And I appreciate you coming all the way from the country of Merced.
Almonds. Would you like some almonds?
Would I like some almonds?
Yeah, from the country of Merced. They grow all the almonds and sweet potatoes there, man.
Okay.
Avocados.
I thought those were from Mexico.
No.
Not all of them?
No. They just say Mexico, but they come from California.